Welcome in the Stiffs. Thank you very much to our sponsors for Series 2, Budgeon Motors. Been established for 40 years, best car dealership in Shropshire.
Debatable.
Well, we've all had cars from there. Gav, you been to Budgeon?
Yeah, a few times now.
Dave, too big time. He only wants Teslas, doesn't he?
But to be fair though, they do Teslas, do any car. You want a car, they get you a car.
I just spoke to them, they are fast, to be fair.
Dave's blacked himself a car.
Backed them. You know they're good when Dave's on side with them.
I've been offered 20%.
Have we sorted out the discount? Come down to Budgeon, mentioning the Stiffs, and what we'll have to sort out. What's that discount?
Yeah, about 90%.
Yeah, we'll have
just
to
don't
sort
tell
that.
the MD.
That'll have to be sorted out at the showroom.
Yeah, to be confirmed, that one.
Yeah. So he's probably our most hated guest so far.
Occasionally on a Sunday.
There's a difference between liking playing and being good
exactly,
at it.
Exactly, padding around that.
But I wouldn't make it at Dave's level.
I looked at Gav, I thought I could play for Canvey Island.
I'd have got in that team.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, I felt it was a cheap option at the time where Graham Turner was in.
Never. They don't do that
would you believe it? Would you believe it? Like, that doesn't sit well with me. No, exactly. It doesn't sit. How can I be my best and give that person my best if I've got 10 minutes for it? I don't know whatever made me say it, but I went, I see you Thursday. And like, it was just instinctive.
He don't listen to this, does he? Ski?
Well, he will do now. I'll send it him. I'll give him your address as well. Oh yeah, it's your herbaceous, Sophuvius. He just named plants. So he'd know like loads of plants in his head, Latin names for him. Who's the best goalkeeper in the world? And Dina went, me. What's that farmer just done to me?
Mate, your pal's in a bit of trouble, isn't he? What's that?
Oh, mate.
So be honest, have you ever practiced running with a bag?
Oh, it's very humble. We don't get a lot of humility on this podcast. Right, welcome everybody to In the Stiffs podcast, and today we've got a special guest. We've got physiotherapist Chris Skitt. He currently leads the health, wellness and leisure services at Love to Stay in Shrewsbury. He has a bachelor and master's in science, specialising in sports science and physiotherapy. He spent 10 years as a physio at Shrewsbury Town and went from youth team physio to first team physio and was one of Paul Hurst's trusted staff in that great season, which had 2 Wembley appearances. Then Paul Hurst took him to Ipswich, which was a little bit controversial and left a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouths of so many Shrewsbury Town fans. So he's probably our most hated guest so far.
Only.
Welcome Skitty, you alright?
How we doing, guys? You alright?
Nice to have you here.
Oh, nice. Thanks for coming.
So, yeah, we've got loads of questions for you tonight, Skitty, so answer them the best as you can. We'll edit most of what you say anyway.
Always a way.
Yeah. I think the first question that I wanted to ask you was about, I played with a physio years ago who played for Kidderminster. And he actually...
A physio played for Kidderminster?
Yeah, he played...
As well as a player physio?
He was the striker. I'm going to do another one of those blanks again.
So let's get it straight. So he played and a physio at the same time.
No, and then he became the physio.
Oh, okay.
So when he was in training, we played in the circle. Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. I'll get it by the end of the podcast. But basically, he used to play and then he became the physio. So he used to join in training and mug all the lads off because he was better than all the lads. So he was good at football. So are you any good at football?
I think that's very subjective, Gav. If you ask me, I'm incredible. I like playing and still turn out occasionally on a Sunday.
There's a difference between liking playing and being good
exactly,
at it.
Exactly, I'm padding around that very, very carefully. No, I enjoy it. And a lot of the rehabs with the lads involved football because I like serving the ball to them and I can get by. I'm okay, I enjoy it, and yeah, it's okay. I did make Dave's career. I'm going to take full credit for that.
Inspirational for you, Dave,
yeah, I think he's doing himself a bit of a disservice here, because me and Skitty, you were a year older than me, Skitty, weren't you? But we played district...
You look younger.
We played district together, and he was a decent player. We had a good team, actually, didn't we?
I think
but it definitely helps, though, being able to at least have a level of football, because I've played with some physios who you're doing the rehab with them, and Christ, their touch is horrendous.
Fozzie, that was who it was. Ian Foster, he works at the FA now, great guy. Yeah, he used to join in training, and he was just it was embarrassing because he used to mug all the lads off.
Yeah, I don't think I've been quite at that level, but
well, that is better than having a physio who you're just getting back into training, you're practicing a little bit of passing, and they're shinning it everywhere.
We had a lad who worked underneath me at Shrewsbury, Richie Higgs, and we used to call him spaghetti legs because you just have to like roll a ball at him. Literally, his legs are all over the place, tripping over himself. So yeah, I can get by.
But did you improve though? Because you're playing football every day, so you must improve.
Every day, yeah, and little things like you'll always have a laugh with the lads. So you have a game of two touch, and you do find that your touch improves much. And as daft as it sounds, your service, so 20 yards away and wazzing a ball in at a lad, shin height, you do get better. So, I mean, I was all right. I'm never going to make it to... Dave's level.
He looked at me, you there, Gav. You went, I'm never going to make it to. Oh, well, maybe I would have done to you too, but I wouldn't have made it to Dave's level.
I looked at Gav. I thought I could play for Canvey Island.
I'd have got in that team.
Actually, I could have played number 10 in that team, probably, and popped it everywhere.
So, Skitty, your footballing dreams were never sort of in reach. You were saying going into your sort of teenage years, you never thought of, all right, I'm going to be a footballer, I'm going to try it.
I kind of knew from very early on, really. And my dad kept me very grounded. Basically, said that I wasn't quite good enough. going to academia or something. Yeah. So I kind of knew from a young age. So then my focus turns to enjoying it and played at an okay level locally. Yeah, it sort of sets your sights on something different. Always knew I wanted to be involved in football in some way. So then it's just finding a way of getting involved in it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Obviously, you would have been academic in school, but was your main thought, right, how can I get into that sporting football environment? Was it football in particular, or would you just have a big interest in sports?
Yeah, football in particular. Always wanted sort of then to have a fallback on sport, but I wasn't particularly academic. The one thing that I was is that driven and worked hard to get where I wanted to go. So I kind of knew very early on that to be able to get into football in particular, I'd have to be sort of harder working than the rest, better at different things than the rest. I mean, being academic didn't naturally come to me. It's something that I worked hard for and had to fight all the way through unis to get the results to go through to different paths of the career.
So which uni did you go to, Skitty?
So I went to Liverpool John Moores for my sports science undergrad, and that was sort of, I guess it was a kind of transition stage where it was searching for a way of getting into football. So at the time there was an influx of people going into sports science. I bet there was 50 on my course. I was very fortunate at the time. John Moores was voted the best sports science institute in the country, so come out of that with a really strong Bachelor of Science degree. But then it was at the time where, again, Dave will be able to say more, that there was so many sports scientists going out and you're having to do like 2, 3, 4 year interns, not paid, to even get your name in. So as I was going through, I kind of thought I need to look at something different. Had an interest in the way the body moved, the way the body worked, and sort of what happened when things broke down. And that naturally took me then into Leeds Met Uni for my Masters in Physio.
Because on those interns as well, you're not just the only intern at a club either, are you? There's like 4 or 5. Even when I was the manager at Telford, we had 3 or 4 interns.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone just scratching to get in.
It's hard in football as an industry because it's kind of free labour. So in many ways, you get used as a bit of a dog's body. You'd go in as an intern, you'd be filling up protein shakers, and like, really, what would you learn from that? So very quickly, I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down those lines. I want to go in at a bit of a greater level and be able to go as a job with a qualification that's strong behind me, which took me into physio, allied to my interest of it.
Competitive market though, isn't it? Because everybody wants to be, a physio. It's like the same as being a PE teacher at school. I know head teachers, when they advertise for like PE teacher, the standard of applicants is unbelievable. And it's the same, I think, managers want physios. Because, like you say as well, everybody's desperate to get involved with football. There's 92
clubs. Yeah. So you get one physio for the first team. You might have an assistant.
Often now. Yeah,
then you've got a youth team, but everybody's aspiring to get into the first team. So everybody wants your job anyway.
Yeah, and with many things, I think it's a lot of it is about who you know. There is a big element of, is there a connection that you can sort of lean on? Have you got a relationship with a person in a club who can put you through the door? But then, again, the world of football that it is, people don't suffer fools gladly. No. So if you then don't do the job that you should be doing, then you're shown the door, and quite quickly.
I also find with football, it's glamorized a little bit as well. Everyone wants to be in football, and physios and sports scientists is no different. The reality of being a physio or a sports scientist in football is very different to what you would have thought in college, thinking I'm going to be working with the most elite athletes and things like that, but then you get to a sort of a lower league club or something like that, and it is a long way from what you think, isn't it?
This is a player, mate.
Yeah, it is worlds apart from what people think. Like, all of my mates would say, like, oh, you must buzz off travelling away and staying in hotels. I'm like, yeah, I really buzz off, like, getting up at 7 a.m, training, travelling, going to the hotel, massaging people's legs till 10:30 at night, and crawling into bed. Like, so it's not what people do perceive as being how nice it is. And
not just a physio. So like most clubs, a physio will do a lot more than actually just treating players. So you talk about a match day, you won't just be there on the treatment table helping lads, will you?
No, I'd go and help set up the kit. We'd go down to the grounds early and we'd set up the kit and help the kit man and get everything sorted with that regard, and then bomb back to the hotel for any sort of last minute treatments. So yeah, certainly lower league, and it is a bit easier as you go higher up because you've got more staff around.
To time with what you've just said, though, a lot of people will say, well, why? You know, if you're the physio, you're there obviously to look after the players, keep them healthy, keep their well-being right. So people will say, why? But like you've said there, if you don't do that, you're not the person that's going to get chosen for that job. You've got to go above and beyond in that role, haven't you?
Definitely. And I think there are a very similar type of person that works in football. That's almost like a common understanding that every good physio that I've known, by standard, they muck in and they're happy to do that. So, yeah, whilst if you don't do it, you will get found out quite quickly, there's also sort of an underlying acceptance that that's part of the role. Like
that football, definitely, isn't it? You forgive anything, but you don't forgive somebody for not working hard. I think it's the same with footballers, isn't it? You know, you forgive anybody making a mistake or getting things wrong, but lack of effort is not on.
Yeah, it's bare minimum in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes outside of football.
Yeah.
Obviously, as stuff that I look after now, and that's what you say. All I want is more than 100%.
Well, two things you've already said about it that are a bit of a running theme on this podcast is having a foresight that, again, obviously around this table at different stages, we've all gone, right, football's coming to an end now, or I'm not going to be quite good enough to get to that level, so I'm going to have the foresight to see. And obviously you saw it a lot earlier, but again, it's having that mindset, having good people around you to direct you, and then, again, hard work.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it was probably one of the toughest messages I got from my parents, but one of the most valuable, because I can still remember it now when they kind of sat round at home and bring it round in conversation, and then all of a sudden it's like, actually, you should probably focus on your education rather than football, because the reality is you're not going to be quite good enough.
Harsh lesson when you fall that way.
Went to bed crying for the next week.
Dad, is that just because you want me to be academic?
Exactly.
Because I'm not good at football?
But also, like you said as well, the opportunity, isn't it? And it's
Definitely.
You can have a lot of people who work hard, but you still need that opportunity.
It is, yeah. And I was fortunate to have a good relationship with the football club initially, which kind of got me through the door. I went on an initial placement there as a physio.
So this is straight from Leeds?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a to and fro.
Is this 18, 19 years of age now?
Yeah, it would have been about 18, 19. So I went to Burnley on placement, football club, had a great time there, and then went to Shrewsbury straight after on placement. So I kind of knew what it was about, felt that I did a better job because I knew what I was expecting and what was expected of me. But then I was really fortunate because jumped into the NHS for literally a couple of months, and I was like, not for me. Some maternity cover come available at Burnley Football Club. So went there for a very short time. And Andy Mitchell now, I still speak to now. Brilliant guy, unbelievable physio. I owe him a lot because he invested his time in me.
He's still at Burnley now?
No, he was at Blackburn last... I've not spoken to him since before Christmas, but he's sort of to and fro in. He's been in and out of the game a few times, but really good lad and taught me so many lessons. But yeah, very quickly then, I think literally again within a matter of months, the Shrewsbury youth team job come available. And I was kind of like, yeah, back home, you can't beat Shrewsbury, can you? Unbelievable, yeah. So again, went in under Nathan Ring, who has done really well following on from Shrewsbury. He's moved to all different places, working in the FA, been abroad, represented England for the Olympics, physio-wise. So really, really lucky that I've had some great people to work under. But then, again, talk about timing. Within 18 months, Nath had moved to Brighton. And it was kind of like, I felt it was a cheap option at the time where Graham Turner was in.
Never. They don't do that.
Would you believe that? Would you believe it?
No, I think I'll get that.
So
confused.
Kind of got to a point where Graham Turner, who's brilliant, like great guy, unbelievable person, club legend. But did he really rate the role of a physio? I'm not sure initially, in fairness.
Worked in your favour, though.
Massively. Yeah, it did. So it was like, right, come in, you've got 6 weeks. If you do a good job, you can have it. If not, then we'll just put you back down in the youth team. So at that point, I was like, well, great, I may as well just give it everything I've got. And then, that was, I think, 10 years later or something like that. I was still plodding on the same old pitch. And
tell us a little bit, Skitty, about working for the NHS then. What were you doing then?
Yeah, so they call it rotations. So as any physio, you start as a band 5, which is sort of a junior physio role. So literally plodding along the wards. I was quite lucky where it was elective surgery. So it would be the knee injuries or knee cleanups. So it was still kind of sort of physical, and you could get them up moving. It wasn't just lying in a ward and having to change pissy bags, for want of a better description, which does happen. So I was able to get them up and moving, but it's just the bureaucracy of it, the expectation. I was reading something about 6 months ago now, and they were saying that the average physio on an outpatient ward would have about 10 minutes to treat a person coming in. So that includes them coming in, talking to them, getting any treatment done and getting them out. Like that doesn't sit well with me. No, exactly. It doesn't sit. How can I be my best and give that person my best if I've got 10 minutes for it? So
there's no reward, is there? You know, any goals of seeing someone injure and then come all the way back maybe 6 months later and things like that.
Yeah,
You've got the integrity of wanting to do a good job.
Yeah, exactly. And like I remember thinking very early on, there was a couple of patients, one after another. I just thought, I'm just letting them down. I'm not doing my best for them because of the time. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. I just haven't got the time to get through. So again, kind of looked at something then football-based, which was like, if you need to spend an hour with a player to get them right for a game, you can spend an hour with a player. If you've got an injury, like you said, Dave, to get them from diagnosing that injury, taking them all the way through the process to seeing them whip one in the top bin with a free kick, which Joe Riley I always use as the example at Coventry. Like there's something so rewarding and wholesome about that like you just sort of fall in love with that process, I guess.
Yeah, you've been a big part of that, I suppose.
Yeah, and of course it's always good for the ego, isn't it? When you think like, I've done that. Joe Riley didn't whip it in the top, and I did that.
That was me, that joke. 10% was
Sit
you.
down, Joe.
Nothing. It worked for me.
Exactly, yeah. So
I won half the goal bonus.
So it's all going back to your time at Shrewsbury. So you've gone from the kids to the men. How was that in terms of the difference between treating 16, 17-year-old lads to then going into a first-team dressing room, which we all know is completely different.
Yeah.
When you go into a hardened group and you're going to get tested at every opportunity as a physio, you know what I mean? They want to test you from the moment you walk in the door. So how did you find that transition?
I know, just before you say, I know you now, Skitty, so I know that you revel in that.
That's where I live.
That's your environment. But what was it like, Dave says, what was it like right at the start?
Sorry, you just went, but it's different now. It's like we all were confident when we were like 25, 26, but when you're young and you're new into that, I think that's tough. And as a footballer, you gain instant respect by just having you have a good couple of training sessions and you're in. Not everybody goes, well, he's decent. As a physio, it's a tough
and another thing, just before you, because you can obviously elaborate on this, as a footballer, you could judge a physio on the first strapping they give you.
It's too tight. It's too tight. Your foot's going to fall off. Where's this physio come from?
It is the first one.
Your foot's gone blue.
So that, like, the disrespect to a physio if the strap is not quite right, and you're thinking, he's shite.
I've seen many physio die because of a poor strapping. Literally, I used to get the students on it first thing, so I'd just strap that ankle for me, will you? Have we got players with under wrap? He's forgot the under wrap. He's forgot the under wrap.
Got to pull all my hairs off.
It's him again.
You know what? You talk about like sort of gaining people's respect, and it's no different in many ways. That you go in there and you have a good training session. It's very similar. You have a good result with diagnosing an injury or a good rehab. But I'll always remember my first day, and I had the benefit, I guess, of being around, so the lads kind of knew my face, having been in the youth team. But I walked into the ground where we were training at the time, and Dean Holdham, he ruptured his quad previously and was fully fit, but he had a really big lump on his quad. And later I found out he did this with every single new physio. But he tensed his quad, and all of a sudden there's this like big bulky lump in his quad. And like, again, as a new physio, I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to have to go and tell the gaffer that like he can't play. It's my first day. And then Dino said to me, "Oh, what would you do with this?" And I you know what? Like,
horrible.
I look back.
Brilliant.
Why do we do that?
I don't know.
Always do the lads in his
But you know,
What can you do with that then?
the best part was, like, I don't know whatever made me say it, but I went, see you Thursday. And, like, it was just instinctive. But all of a sudden, like, just gained respect from all the lads because they were all in there waiting for me to get him on the bed and panic. I don't know what come over me because I wouldn't. Yeah, but I'd never have done it. Like, never have ever have done it before. But something just come over me. I thought, oh, fuck it, like, see you Thursday. So yeah, I was lucky, and then all of a sudden there was a good group of lads at the time, which is massively important.
So who was in that group of players then? Any sort of standout names?
Standout names for me: Paul Murray, Shane Cansdale Sheriff, Dean Holden, Chris Neal. They were kind of like the main perpetrators in the group, and you kind of always remember the lads who are the.
And the manager was Graham Turner.
Graham Turner, yeah. So you'd have Tony Ford. I don't know if you remember him. He's the old fitness coach.
Yeah. How would I know him? He's played for Rochdale or
Hereford. Something? No, he's weightlifter. He was Olympic weightlifter, fitness coach at Hereford, then come to Shrewsbury. He sort of come about with Turner quite a bit.
Sounds very old school. That. Weightlifter.
Honestly, mate,
A lot of veins in his head.
So I, like, obviously with my background, come from sports science where it's like test, measure, analyse, repeat and all that. One of the first days they did a Tuesday physical session. They're like set up with these dumbbells outside on the back pitch at the football ground. I'm thinking, what's going on here then? Like, what are they using these weights outside for? So anyway, training session goes on and like, it was old school. At the end of the session, right lads, come over here then. Come on, get in your twos. So all of a sudden, these dumbbells get handed to the lads, and they've got to, with the dumbbells in their hands, run 10 yards back with the dumbbells.
You got a bachelor degree in sports science, but hold on a minute, what's happening
20 yards back. But the best part was, so the next two lads to run were standing on the line, and then the lads just had to drop the dumbbells and run again. So it was literally like dumbbells flying down on the thing. Honestly, it's like Normandy. People were blowing up everywhere.
Do you not find that hard? Because like someone like Graham Turner, I'd imagine, would be quite old school.
Yeah. So I found it really hard to start with, and kind of went in there a couple of times to say to him, look, like, have we thought about doing it this way? Or, and then all of a sudden you get a very sort of quick understanding of like, my opinion doesn't really matter or can't sway it too much.
But that worked in your favour at the start though, because like you say, it probably opened the door for you a little bit.
Definitely.
Because he was like, cheap option, get him in, bit of a body.
Yeah.
And probably got lucky with you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? The driving force behind, I guess, that old school mentality was actually John Truick, the coach at the time. Turner, you could kind of, if you got him out the way and started to have a discussion, you could see he wanted to know.
I was going to say, were they receptive at all to new ideas?
If they could see the absolute tangible value straight away, then they'd let you do it.
That's the key.
If not, nothing. Like, we're talking, Fordy used to make these juices. And in many ways, it's ahead of his time. Like, you'd think, wow, it's all beetroot juice, ginger, everything. And the science behind it, so you kind of look at it and think, well, the science is there. But then he'd take this NutriBullet, basically, into the boot room, get the brush that all the lads had just changed their dirty boots with and cleaned it all off and just start scrubbing the blender. So he'd turn round, like, look at you, and I'd be like, Fordy, like, they've just used that to clean their boots. He's like, yeah, healthy bacteria, it's fine.
So the lads are all fit and healthy, but they all had bacterial infections.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are alive now. But it's like, and then with that said, some of the things that you learn from that experience are invaluable. Sort of the things that they don't teach you in uni. They can teach you how to look at lactate levels and everything else and analyse a GPS screen, but they don't teach those relationships of dealing with a tricky manager or dealing with a person who doesn't agree with your approach.
I think that's everything though. I mean, I spoke about Peter Reid before, and he'd be like coming into... I mean, Gav even said it, when you were managing Gav, you'd be going to physio. Is he going to be fit for Saturday? I need him for Saturday. He needs to play. And as a physio, you've got to stand up and be brave and say, sorry, he's not going to be right.
Yeah.
He'd be right for half an hour, won't he?
That's it.
No.
Well, he probably wouldn't mind us saying this, but your sort of prodigy is Aaron Lamley, isn't it? And obviously I know I'd come to you and you'd recommended Az and he'd come over with us. But Az would almost be prepped about what I was going to do. I was quite strategic about it, depending on the player. So I knew I wasn't
slagging you off for it.
No, it's fine. I was quite strategic about it, so I know that there would be a player that I felt like I couldn't do that with because, again, emotionally, you'd probably lose them psychologically. So I would almost prep Az and say, look, I'm going to come in, you need to sort of start because we need them to know that the pressure's on. And it would be those players that Az would feel that they were fit. All of his testing would be on point, but the player was still holding back and going, yeah, I don't know. And we'd think they had a bit of a psychological block. So we would do everything that we could just to push them to the point where they would go, yeah. And whereas we go, look, he's strength testing, everything's done. He's ticking all of the boxes. He's just got a block in his head. So I would just come in and just go, flipping, he's in here again, having a massage. Any chance of you being fit or what? You know,
you bullied him basically.
Yeah. But it was quite strategic. It was quite thought out. You know, we would do it amongst us. But there's definitely players you can't do that with. You have to be very careful. And
there's loads of that. In reality, there's loads of that go on. So I'll morning meetings with a manager, I would kind of instigate that. So I'd be like, look, he'd be able to get through a game. I'm fairly certain everything's coming back okay. Done his first few training sessions. He's just worried and doesn't want to be with me for another 6 weeks. So go in there and just say to him, come on, you're with us today. So a lot of the time, like, I'd instigate that and say, he'll be fine, he'll get through. And
did that come with experience or Skitty?
Massively, yeah.
At the start, it's hard to do that. I think someone like I said about Peter Reid, he used to come in and if we had a young physio, you know, and he'd be going, I need him to be fit. Young physio's panicking, thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to get him off the treatment table. But it takes a strong physio to go, he's not. It does, yeah.
And
not ready.
You have to be that type of character as well. Definitely. So I think, experience is a great thing, and time and seeing those situations is massive. But you also have to have that sort of underriding confidence in your own ability to say, you know what, I'm going to back myself. Like, if it balls up, then I'll put my hands up and own a mistake.
Tez is grogging again in the first minute. Who said he's fit? Who said he's fit?
That was Azza. I'll just say Azza.
So you had any moments like that you can think of as a physio where you've kind of, the team have needed someone, you're a little bit hesitant, but you've said he might be okay, and it's backfired on you?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is Zach Whitbread. So we signed Zach, centre-back, left-footed, great player. And if you ever speak to him, he'll always throw out that he was in the Champions League squad and everything else of his pictures.
Liverpool, was it?
Liverpool, yeah. But we signed him from Norwich on loan, I think it was. And he had this horrendous history of hammies, consistent hammy problems. Come back in, felt his hammy, come off, I think, in a game. And then it's one of those decisions, he had a week to rehab him. And I'm like, I think I could probably just patch him through. Spoke to Zach, and Zach at the stage was kind of, for his career, he wanted to play and felt he had to play. So I had quite a frank conversation with him and said, look, I can get you so far. You're probably going to have to manage yourself through the game, but I think you could get away with it. So he was like, yeah, I want to do it, like, all for it. Spoke to the management, they were the same. Yeah, let's try and get him through it. And he got spun down into the corner in like the first 10 minutes. Done his hammy.
That's one place you can get exposed.
Exactly.
Centre half, and you've got to go.
Centre half in the corner, Gav.
All right, can we not talk about it?
Gav's getting the shakes over here.
I'm having flashbacks here. Get me out.
Yeah, it's one of them, like walked off the pitch. I was like, well, at least we tried, mate, didn't we? 10 minutes in.
Which I think's the attitude.
Gaffer's raging at me.
That's when I decided.
Just get off Zach, me and you'll go straight down the tunnel. Just don't look at the gaffer.
That was when I decided to retire. I played for Solihull when he got spun down the side, and I chased this little 19-year-old lad. And I got a tackle in, and I'm talking, if you could think of the stereotypical last-ditch challenge, and I got it in and felt my hammy, and I just thought, yeah, that's probably me done that. Flipping, I'm in a world of trouble. Go like that to the physio. I'm struggling.
But it happens. So from a player's point of view, Skitty, when I found when I was doing rehab, you'd always hold a little bit back, wouldn't you? And you can never replicate that moment there where someone spins in the channel, or someone stood you off, you've got a groin injury, you've got to go side to side quickly. You can try and replicate as much as you can in your rehab, but you're always a little bit prepared for what movement's next when you're doing that, aren't you?
That's
Whereas in the game, it's so instinctive.
Yeah. So I call it the mental strain of games that I don't think people take into enough account for that. So I used to sort of pride myself on what I would class as functional rehabs. I used to set out massive spaces, make the rehab as position specific as I could to try and replicate those demands. But every time you did those rehabs, you put them in a game and they'd be blowing after 10 minutes. And you can't. I believe it's the mental strain of the decision making, positional play, all of that adds to the stiffness of your body in many ways. So yeah, it's always one of those things where you get them back fit, and then you wait for the first few games before you say anything. Get them through the first few games and then strut in, walking like Conor McGregor.
What about with Skitty? I find a lot of the time I remember coming back from injury, especially when I had a bad injury, and you'd come back and they'd pick up so many little niggles in the first few weeks back, like your groins and hamstrings and things like that. It's just common, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, like Dave said, it's just those little movements that you don't appreciate that you're doing when you're fully fit and playing. You kind of don't clock on that what you're putting your body through. But then when you're on the way back from an injury, every little movement, every little turn you feel, you're aware of. There's creaks in your body.
And it's frustrating as a player, isn't it? Because you've been injured, you come back, you pick up little niggles. You probably got 2 in one game, and you don't feel like you can say too much because it's that thing on the periphery, isn't it? You know, will I be all right for the game? And I'll give it a couple of days. So you don't actually want to say anything. Horrible feeling, isn't it?
As much as you got nice people in the physio room like Skitty, you don't want to be back in there, do you?
No, you don't.
It's torturous in there watching. Like we did an episode a while back about how tough it was through these injuries and stuff. So you just that desperate to be out on the pitch.
Yeah,
you'll hide it, won't you?
Yeah, of course you will.
And like you said, Dave, you don't want a reputation for being injury prone, and you're coming back, and then you're picking up other little knocks as well. And you think, I don't want to get tagged as he's injured a lot, because you know that's going to count against.
And that happened. So I was quite with Hursty more so than anyone else. I was really involved in sort of looking at the signings. So I'd get sort of a little bit of a nod week before when it was close. And I would literally trawl through everything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the news from the local papers.
What a great insight that is, isn't it?
To look at injuries. So yeah,
the modern physio.
So I would look at sort of the run of games, certainly over a 3-year period, how many games they consistently played, were they consistent in their games, were there sort of freak injuries? And you could always, so you know a lot of people in football, so you're only one phone call away from finding out a player reference, really, Gav. So it's one of them where you kind of do all the research, you get a feel for where they've been for their surgery, what they've had done, reading in between the lines. And yeah, I mean, it's one of them where you're so heavily involved and you do see those patterns there is something to see.
Without naming names, obviously, has there been a point where you had to go to Paula say, you can't sign him?
Yeah, there was, yeah. So, and there's no secrets. I can name names, and I am going to name names. I was speaking to him on the way up here, actually. Yeah, exactly. No, there's a real recent one, actually. So, Linnell John Lewis, like...
What a guy.
Yeah, lovely guy, top professional, unbelievable person.
I love playing against him.
And
easy work.
Where's he?
When I went back to Shrewsbury, Lenny was there, and he had a couple of bad. He does ACLs
he did 2
and stuff. But
after I went, Dave.
Yeah, but he was
not very strong,
forward,
is he?
massive, but like a gentle giant off the pitch. But worked his socks off. Would do everything in the gym. One of those lads who would just be positive all the time, even if he was like had demons inside him, he would never bring that into the training ground.
Yeah, no, he's such a nice guy.
I met him. Sorry. I met him at Love to Stay when he was doing rehab with you. Spoke to him 3 or 4 occasions.
Allegedly. Allegedly, don't say that.
You must have got in trouble for that.
But 3 or 4 occasions in there doing a bit, and obviously just having conversations with him. Yeah, like you say, what a lad, what a great lad.
Yeah, so Hursty signed him, and I kind of got the nod a bit more to start having a look at him. And all of a sudden I'm looking at all these injuries, really bad knee injury, hadn't played since his knee injury. He was at Newport at the time. Made a few phone calls and they're like, his knee will need a lot of work. So then he come in for the medical. And again, I was blown away by just how nice he was. And he was just like, look, I know you're going to be worried about my knee. I know my knee's swollen. My knee is still sore. He's just dead straight. And then all of a sudden, you kind of think, well, if he's been that straight with you, he must be to a level. Looked at the knee and I was a bit like, ooh, I'm not sure about this. So and again, medicals aren't about passing and failing, they're about risk, I guess. So you're looking at the risk of that player not being able to fulfill his
investment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly that. So you're looking at the risk of that player not being able to fulfill the contract. Anyway, I remember walking upstairs to the gaffer and I'm like, how am I going to play this one here? So I was like, look, I'm worried about his knee. I don't think if you're signing him on a year or 2 years, I don't think he's going to be able to consistently play. And the gaffer was brilliant. And it was early on. It must have been that first pre-season, having been a couple of months in. So you're still kind of finding your feet with the gaffer. I was like, I'm a bit worried. And the gaffer was brilliant. He's like, look, I know the lad from old. He was with me at Grimsby. He is the most unbelievable person in the changing room. He will maintain our changing room for us. Brilliant. He'll be a bit part player. Will his knee stand up to that? So I'm like, well, yeah, we'll have to do a lot of work with him in the short term. but I think I could probably get it to a position where we could manage it through. And then
and you'd have understood his character from that meeting when you
straight
know
from
he
it.
would
Yeah,
put in the effort.
Yeah, and he was saying, he's like, look, I'll do anything. Dead straight to you. Like, I'm big on eye contact, so he like stared you in the eyes, like, I will do anything to get fit. Well, give it a go.
And
like,
when he was doing that rehab, he literally would, wouldn't he?
Oh, he will.
He was pretty
incredible. in the
I
gym.
was there on my phone half the time, and he was like absolute beast. You know what? How he done his knee though? He's bent up in my pocket from Grimsby 2015. I think it was. I think he's struggling to get out.
Obviously, so
He don't listen to this, does he? Ski?
Wait, he will do now. I'll send it him.
So
I'll give him your address as well.
You still signed him then, Steve, didn't you? But did that not affect his contract or anything?
No, so they didn't write anything into the contract because Hursty was that sure that there were other players that would play in front of him, and Lenny would have a very sort of strict use for him, I guess.
It's funny how Sam
wasn't it? It was amazing.
It's funny how Sam asked that question. Did he have anything in his contract about his knees?
Because I just think as well, though, it's interesting because if you've got that, if they're going to give you like whatever £1,500 a week, and this suddenly go, actually, hold on a minute, I don't know how good his knee is. Actually, we're not going to risk £1,500.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, we'll give you £800 and see how you go, and you'll get money.
It's common to get loaded up on
after
appearances.
games.
Yeah, and that does happen. I don't think in Lenny's case it did, but I remember going into sort of the boardroom and being like, look, I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
There was a discussion to say if on this basis he was going to play 20 minutes a week and he'd be sort of a bit part player for the team, but he would be huge for the squad in terms of keeping everyone together. So I was like, I'm willing to invest my time in him because he's willing to invest his own time. Let's go for it.
I agree with that shout as well. If you've got someone who can just be brilliant in the changing room, they're worth it, aren't they?
Massive.
It depends on budget though, Gav. Would you have Telford? How could you have got away with giving
Well, we had no money at Telford, so probably not. But I suppose in that situation, and like you rightly say, you wouldn't go and shoot all your budget on it.
Yeah.
But if you felt as though you could squeeze him into the budget and you felt he was going to accept, but you knew he might be out here and there, little niggles, sore knee, I think for the changing room, it's a huge.
Yeah.
You look at that season, like everyone talks about the Shrewsbury season and all that. Lenny was a massive, massive part of that and doesn't get anywhere near enough credit.
Well, what did you say, Dave? You said about there was a statement about Connor Cody, wasn't there, in the England squad? What was that?
Yeah. So is it Steve Holland? Is it the assistant manager?
Yeah.
So he come out after the tournament and he said biggest impact out of the whole of the England squad, even including on the pitch, was Connor Cody. The way he drove training. And he didn't play a minute in the tournament.
Unbelievable.
But the way he drove training, the way he kept the levels. You're disappointed when you're not playing, but you keep them levels up and you drive the other lads and you're creating a good environment for everyone. There's no bitchiness, there's no split in the camp because we know how bad a toxic player can be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you talk about signing someone who might not play, but he can neutralise the dressing room.
Yeah.
If you get the wrong person in the dressing room, that finishes your season quicker than anything.
Absolutely. And what a human being you've got to be to do that.
Yeah.
Because I hold my hands up. I've been there a couple of times and reacted right and done it all right. But certainly in my younger years, I was an handful when
you're not playing.
We used to have like running jokes with Lenny, go for training. I'd used to like zing a ball at him before training. I'd be like, come on, try and get hold of this. Have another go. And it used to bounce off him and everywhere. Like, it used to be brutal, really. But then used to say to him, I'll be all right, last 5 minutes, we'll chuck you on, just keep you in the corner, just hold everyone off.
Yeah.
And,
2 minutes to go, you ain't getting the ball off.
You're not, mate. He's the strongest person I've ever met.
It depends on which your physio though and your gaffer, because I went I failed a medical at Darlington, and that was the Darlington physio, just where his knee's not right. His dad has done too cruciate to leave it. Then I went to Tranmere. I don't know if you know Les Parry.
I know Les. I get on really well with Les. Great guy.
Well, he was at Tranmere, and I sort of levelled with him and said, "Look, Les, I've just failed a medical at Darlington. I might as well just tell you now before I go and sit and talk like money and all that with Brian Little." And he went, "How many games did he play last season?" I said, 40. He went, 40 games. Any problems? I went, no. Do it for me then.
Les was brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, that's common sense though, isn't it?
Well, it is, isn't it?
So Les is working.
Don't mean he's second game though.
Les is working as an advocate at Man United at the minute.
Is he?
Yeah, brilliant guy. Used to.
He's lucky he's not working in Asda.
He'd talk about characters. It's so funny. Player would come in and be like, "Oh, I've got a really sore leg," and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's your herbaceous Sophuvius." And he just named plants, so he'd know like loads of plants in his head, Latin names for him. And the player would walk into the change room and be like, "Yeah, I've done my herbaceous."
Done my daffodil.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, it's funny because so many physios do that. Sam was telling a story a couple of weeks back on our injury episode, and he's saying about Spinky running on the pitch and saying...
You ever come across Dean Spink?
Yeah.
Well, not really. Skinny wouldn't have come across him. Not in the physiotherapy.
Not in the physio world.
Spinky's never been in the physio world. Nothing. Was he a job with us? Were you? No.
Good player, great guy. But Sam was saying he ran on the pitch to Sam, and Sam was down holding his leg, and he went, "What are you wearing tonight?" He went,
Sam answered.
Yeah.
But what did he say? Go on, Sam.
I just went like, jeans in a t-shirt. He went, yeah, me too. Just tapped me on the leg and ran off. I'll just go with it, shall I, Spinky?
Oh, brilliant.
Well, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We go back a little bit and go back to, say, your first season at Shrewsbury. Who came in, or how long did Graham Turner last? Who's your next manager? And obviously you did well as a physio because you won an award as well, didn't you, for League 2 Physio of the Year?
Yeah, that's right. So, so we had Turner went relatively quickly, and Mike Jackson come in sort of temporary.
Yeah. I played the trammy with him.
Oh, the most angry guy in
busiest man in the world, isn't he?
Honestly,
he seemed like, as a fan, he really wanted that job.
Oh, he was so intense. Like we used to train at Lilleshall when the pitches got bad, and so like me being me, like all serious while training's on, and either side for a little bit, and then it's fair game after that. So anyway, Jacko's there, like. He's like Pep, mate, with these counters. They're flying about the board. I'm not really sure what he's doing. They're flying about the board. And all of a sudden, these tray of sarnies come in. I got him and said, Jacko, chill out, will you? Just have some sarnies. And started like pointing them underneath his nose. And all of a sudden, grabbed them off. He goes, what are you going to do now? So I thought, grabbed them back. So, well, what are you going to do? And his head fell off. So he's like, threw these sarnies up in the air, and he's piling on me, trying to get me in headlock. And in the end, I just ran away. So I'm having none of this.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved with that.
So I had none of it.
My only encounter with Mike was I was at Lilleshall. I was doing some rehab there, and he came into that, the old gym, the English Institute of Sport one. And I was in there, and I was on a machine, and he came up literally right next to me, like I could feel his breath hitting my cheek, and he went, "All right." I was like, "Hey mate, you okay?" He went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh, Gavin, nice to meet you." He went, "Yeah, Mike." And he didn't move. I was thinking, a bit weird. I went, "You all right there, Mike?" He went, yeah, just waiting for this machine. I went, "Well, you couldn't give us a yard, could you?" And he went, yeah, just obviously how long you got. I went, "Well, probably about another 10 minutes, mate. I'd go and use something else if I was you." And he went, "Oh, right, you're not going to be any sooner than that." I went,
"No, he's mate." Intense. Oh. And you always say, "Mate," you'd be like, it's not Mike, is it Michael? So what's your name? Michael Jackson. You get good one, mate.
Yeah, next joke. Yeah. We always used to call him Action Jackson.
Yeah.
And he hated it. So he'd say something like, being serious meeting, he'd be like, "All right, Action Jackson, calm down." He's like, no, like, serious now. Yeah, okay.
Shit on him.
Just like action, slip it in. His head would fall off every time.
He was doing his coaching badge when I was at Tranmere. So on the bus and Tranmere, we all used to so every away trip, he'd be there and he'd have his pencil and his ruler and he'd be drawing the pitch, the goal mouth, and putting writing. People are doing all the sessions for his. I don't know what we used to see he was doing for his level 1. It was obvious. It was obvious his pro license or something. I was a level 1 going Jacko. He just wasn't.
No banter.
And after training, he'd be in the gym doing all his exercises, jumps, and he'd be really intense and all that. Me and Linny, it'd be me, Paul Linwood, Danny Harris, and all the lads, and that we'd be going, "Come for a few beer." No, he'd be jumping up and down off his bench.
He's mad for it.
Because he was a centre half, wasn't he? He was only about 5 foot, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was
brave as anything, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'd had anything.
Yeah.
I remember we were training at Tranmere once. Remember Ian Hume?
Yeah,
Hume was just all over him, running past him and all that. And Jacko's lost his head, and Hume squared up the Jack when I was like, "Oh no!" It was just game over, lights out. Jacko's just absolutely wiped the floor.
Did he? All scrambling to get there.
Pick your battles, Hume.
He used to have these mad, scary, intense eyes. So I'd get to a point when he'd just be staring at you. Before it's my time to go.
I'll leave this one.
I think there's a strapping I need to go and do, Jacko. So when Jacko come in temporary, and then Mickey Mellon come in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's he like?
Oh, brilliant! Barrel of laughs, and
I love him. Mate.
Oh, it's so funny. So it's just some of the things as a group that he got our staff to do were really good. He was staying down in a caravan just outside Shrewsbury, and so every night we'd go down to that.
He's living in a caravan.
Oh, mate, brilliant! Yeah,
Must have been a static at least.
yeah, it was a static. Yeah, it's a decent one. Yeah,
He didn't drive it in training.
it's brilliant. We had a fitness coach, Hodgie, at the time, and he was basically there to be Mickey's driver from Blackpool. So like, lovely lad, really good, do anything for you. But Mickey would get Hodgie to pick him up in the morning from Blackpool, drive him down, and he'd get out of the training ground with his coat over him in the back seat, having been asleep all the way down. Hodgie's driving. Oh, it's brilliant. And then so we'd go to the Hand and Diamond on Tuesday night, and we'd play football on a Friday five-a-side with Mickey, and it was just all about the staff group. Really good. Yeah, really good. And a lot of that, I think, carried into the lads. It kind of got the lads together because saw how much we do for Mickey. Brilliant. But yeah, I got like loads of respect for Mickey. Really good. And
he signed me at Fleetwood, and to be fair to him, he had like, obviously there's a lot of money there at the time, and he had 30 lads in there that were like, right, I'm expecting to play today, like in the changing room, proper pros, all sat there. So obviously you got a lot of lads there, like you were saying, there's a lot of toxicity in there, and it's and he was good, mate, and a lot of the lads respected him, and I remember going in, I remember I signed, and I wasn't even in the squad for the first 2 games. So I went in after the second game. I was like, Gaffer, greatest respect. Obviously, I've just signed. I've not even got in the squad. Like, I've been playing. I feel fit. And he was like, don't worry, you're playing Saturday. So we played away. I think it was at York, and we won 2-0. So I was like, brilliant. That's me now. That should be like, centre half. Obviously, I'm not a winger. I'm not like a bit part player. I'm centre half.
Once you're in, you're in.
I expect to play 900 minutes in 10 games. You know? Yeah. So obviously, nothing said. Absolutely nothing said. Sat down in there. Obviously, he's like, you got Alan Wright was in there and all of them, and sat down. He named the squad, and I wasn't even in the squad. I was thinking, is he all right? Anyway, obviously, I'm like, listen, I do not want to kick off, but like, obviously, I've played. We've won away. I'm out of the squad, and he just went, Gavin, listen. The reality is, I brought you in. I've got centre halves. You'd played away at York earlier in the season. You'd scored. You'd won. I knew that you knew what it took to win away at York, so I played you. He said, but I don't see faces. I don't see bodies. I've got them 2 at the moment. And I pick a team to win the league, and that's it. And he went, you're a great lad. I want you here, but I get it if you want to go. I've been there 3 games. And I was like,
didn't think it was going that way when you walked in, did you?
At least you're close to home, though.
It was 2.5 hours, but about 18 hours with the traffic at that time. So yeah, it was all right. But then he put it on me a little bit, because then I just had to conform a little bit, didn't I? Yeah. And then obviously Sam got in my ear all about games.
But at least he was honest with you, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
He's brilliant.
He did that at Shrewsbury.
And I've had a relationship with him to this day. Like, I only texted him a couple of weeks ago, funny enough. But I've had a relationship with him to this day just because he was honest. And I thought,
did he do well? Right?
He did well. He got us promoted.
To League 2 at the time.
Yeah, up to League 1 at the time.
Yeah. He got Shrewsbury promoted from League 2.
Yeah. So, he did well at the time. And probably that was part of his downfall as well. Got quite a few bigger names in. Everybody thought they were going to play. And then all of a sudden it sort of goes a bit jaded with certain people who aren't playing. And I guess that was part of his downfall. But then...
but you had a successful season yourself.
Yeah, so I mean... I was
so just
really
on that, you won the League 2 Physio of the Year.
Right, talk to me about that. How is that?
Massive accolade, that's huge.
Who's on the voting panel?
How on earth does that get decided?
It's up there with a Balloon d'Or as well.
Yes, it's somewhere around there, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that get decided?
Team of the Year, Skitty, and I know how they're picked. But
what? Hold on, mate. What was Skitting over that? What was that?
Just a few Team of the Years. Don't worry.
I don't know whether that's ever been mentioned, but Gav played for the England team. Has that been mentioned on the podcast?
Full cap Skitty.
Do you know England see
I've ever told you the story about when we played against the Rock.
I only bother in like Dave's national career, mate. Like not the lower league ones, not them ones.
That's Wales. Let's not everybody get
equivalent of.
We stay off that topic, mate.
Right, go on, Skitty. League.
So
how's that?
In effect, what happens is somebody in your peers have to vote you or put you towards shortlisting. Fellow physios, different leagues. Yeah,
there's a bung in there.
Exactly that. Yeah. Then you go through a sort of review of how you've done as a team, any injuries that they do. So there is quite a lot of sort of review in it, and then like cost you a couple of quid at the end of it. So they sort of go through a shortlisting process and then make a decision. So really good because you kind of then get put forward. So it's a nice kudos from your peers to have been voted and be seen to be doing a good job.
Jokes aside, Skitty, I will say this, and obviously we talk quite a lot, but I wouldn't want to praise you too much. But whenever I speak to people in football and they say, oh, where are you living now? And I'll say Telford and like Shrewsbury. Like a lot of people will always say, do you know Chris Skitt, physio there? And they always speak very highly of you about the fact of your physiotherapy ability. And I know, did you go into, was it Burnley recently?
Yeah, recently. So I went through Matt Williams, actually, the old chief exec.
Well, a mate of mine that works there was like, oh, mate, he's mustard. And he was like speaking really highly of you. So you've obviously got that name through that football fraternity.
Or just a very good networker.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah.
Okay. Good on a night out.
Everybody's a salesman.
Good lad on a night out.
That's half the battle, isn't it? That's half the battle. Yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky that I always say it's about working with good people as well. And I know it sounds really cringy, but it is. You have to go as a group. So whilst I was the one, and I said it in everything that I did when we won those awards, it's kind of not just me. I was the front man and the one who got it and everything else, but the team around you are the ones that make you. So you're only as good as the person next to you and around you.
Do you mean fellow coaches?
Fellow coaches, even players. Like, you can only be as good as a player wants to get involved with. So I occasionally ask players to do daft things and sort of things that some people would look at, top level Prem players.
Out the box type stuff.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like sort of different things that maybe they've not seen or not heard of, not done before. And it takes a player to buy into that. A lot of the time, I believe that you have to explain why they're doing it, the consequence of what will happen, but you're still reliant on that player not to toss it off. Do you know what I mean?
But that comes respect and trust for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, physio's like, no one's doing that. No one's doing that for you week one. If you tell me to do
100%.
You tell me to do that, I'm like, oh, no chance, mate. You've just started. Like, I am not doing anything for you till you prove
Exactly.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And by my nature, like, occasionally I'll string the lads out, so they'll like, I'll get them doing daft things as well.
Get them moving, like, moving their arms and legs.
Yeah. I'll get them like balancing on things. Well, what are you doing? That's what you just told me to. It's from a rehab. So I didn't tell you to do that.
Gaffer, what's he doing? What's he doing, Gaffer? Has he been out again, Gaffer?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very lucky to work with some really good people and make some really good friends as well as colleagues. But yeah, I think it's all about working as a team, making sure your team are joined up and that you're all going towards a common goal. So that, yeah, whilst I was the name of League One and League Two and everything else, Physio of the Year, I kind of see it as more departmental. So it's the department that won it rather than me.
Oh, that's very humble. We don't get a lot of humility on this podcast.
That's killing us.
I've been working on that one with Gav for a bit.
So the next stage of your career then, Skitty, is that Mickey Mellon unfortunately didn't have a good start to League One. Was that the next season, was it?
Yeah, straight after that.
So we didn't have a good start. He was in a lot of trouble as a team, right down the lower ends, and Paul Hurst comes in, and then this coincides with a real successful time for the football club and yourself. But you became a lot more than a physio. From what I hear, you became a lot more than a physio at this point as well. Yeah,
and I guess this is where our relationship, mine and Hursty's, comes on, really, because I'll remember the first day that we I think there was quite a bit, it was like 6 games or something, where myself and Danny Coyne kind of just stepped into the breach and was just trying to fling together to consolidate and get some results.
So Danny Coyne was goalkeeper coach at the time?
At the time, yeah. So he kind of stepped up and did the day-to-day management. I did a lot more of the sort of the donkey work, I guess, all the warm-ups, everything else. And then so it was about 6 games worth. And then all of a sudden, I get a call from the chairman.
How did you do in those 6 games, sorry? Did you do well?
Oh, incredible, yeah.
You thinking of getting the job?
Yeah. You know what?
Getting the suit ready.
At the point, there was like, there was a time where Coyne was in for it. Yeah. And I was like thinking, I could get used to this.
I could get myself next 25 to 1. Get a couple of suits.
Be like the Italians with a suit running with a bag on. Yeah, so anyway, chairman gives us a call and he's like, can you come up to my office? And it goes, like, the new manager and assistant are at Dobby's having a coffee. They're coming round now. Want you to meet them. So all of a sudden, and you can't describe that sort of feeling of emotion, because it's sort of like, shit, what if they don't like me? What are they going to be like? Are they going to sort of have the same principles as us? And literally from day one, minute one, the gaffer walked in and he was just incredible. Sat down, he's like, right, what do you do? What do you want to do? What do you think will get us out of shit, number one, and will then propel us through the leagues after that? And he was really sort of considered, calm, whilst his assistant Doigie was like growling at you over the other side of the table. And from there, I had a lot of ideas where Mickey kind of let you do it, and same with Jacko, he kind of let you do bits, but not everything. So at the time, it was a couple of seasons after the Leicester did so well, and I was like, I think we can emulate Leicester on a lower level, and it's all about understanding what we do, and any data that we take out of the lads, we need to use it. So myself, George Bunce, Luffy, we call him, Adam Henshaw, all sat in this room all through like baking hot off season, sat in this room like planning everything meticulously, what data we'd take, when we'd take it.
Talk about data to the listener,
testing.
what stuff do you mean?
Yeah, so we'd plan how could we effectively test the lads' fitness, but in season. So one of the common problems I have with football, if you like, is you do pre-season testing. I think you mentioned it before, bleep tests, yo-yo tests, but then it doesn't get done then until maybe the end of season, or not even till the next season. So for me, it's a waste of data. It's you're not really gaining anything from that other than if you've had a good summer. So we said, okay, how are we going to be able to put testing periods into a busy football season? So we've developed a 4-minute run, basically, for distance, based on the GPS vests that the lads would wear.
This is what I was doing with the Telford
That's
lads.
it. Yeah. So every month we'd work towards 6 weeks, but as much as we can every month, we'd get the lads on a Tuesday session, which would be a hard session, to literally run as fast as they could, as far as they could in 4 minutes.
But they love that.
Oh yeah, but you know what?
Sounds like a right laugh.
You want four of the banks? Come on, lads.
I'd have ran straight to the boathouse.
But you know what?
It's only 4 minutes, lads.
It comes down to mentality. So I was expecting that exact answer. So like, I'm not doing that. Like, why would we do that? So we did a massive presentation. Again, George Bunce was instrumental in sort of the generating the data and the proof of it. So we got all the previous winners of League One at the time and looked through what they were doing distance-wise, what made a competitive League One side. And we developed something called the 103 Club. So that's basically any team that won on average in League One as a group ran over 103 kilometres in a game. Statistically, and it's a bit like Moneyball, statistically, that would give you the best chance of winning. So
just quickly, having spoken to Skitty about this, he obviously relayed this to me when I was at Telford, and it was massive because I was like, right, Shrewsbury Town in this brilliant season on the 103 Club, if we can all hit over 100 kilometres, like, and we made it a massive thing, and I think we won 3 games on the spin, and obviously I just put it all down to this running. We're running over 100 kilometres a game, all between us collectively. And it psychologically got the lads just thinking, the harder we run, the more we're going to win games. It's brilliant. So
And you don't let the other lads down. So
that's it, exactly.
And also, so I was obviously at Shrewsbury after you had left.
Yeah.
And this was still a thing. They were still trying to emulate it. It didn't quite have, I don't think, the same data as what you guys did on it. But when you actually looked at the figures and they would go down, all the games that you've lost, all the games that you won, it was frightening.
Scary, yeah.
Frightening. So when you ran 99 kilometres, you lost. If you ran 104, you won. It was correlation.
We ended up on this. We won those 3 games and obviously made a massive deal that because obviously they're full-time, going to be fitter than us, and we made it about the 100 kilometres. So in the 4th game, we drew 1-1, but we got bopped. Like, we were the second best team, but we drew 1-1. And we hit 101. And I went into the team and went, 93. 93. Because obviously they were like, we were the second best team. They were better than us. Yeah. And I just said, lads, it's got nothing to do about that. It's the fact that you didn't run enough. Yeah. And then the next game we won. And obviously I was
at 210.
We got 99 and I was like 102.
Had Moses Kiptanui playing midfield.
But obviously like we would do it and we would say about like, you know, we've got to get over 100. But every now and again I'd use it to my advantage as well, where the lads would be like, flipping it, we've drawn there and we only did 93, and then we got the win and we 99, and I had to sort of go, oh no, we did it, we got over 100. And
it's fascinating. Skip.
Yeah, so we put a load of things in, and incidentally, the 103 Club, we were 86% successful. So every time we were over 103 kilometres, 86% of the time we won. There was a bit of drawing in there as well. Then it was minimal, the losses. But then that was just sort of one thing. So then we'd test and we'd look at the lads individually. So we would treat that person as an individual. And there's a massive variance with individuals. So we'd look at Lenny, we spoke about him. We'd look at Lenny and we think he could probably tolerate quite a big difference in the amount of distance he ran in a week before he'd get injured. So we kind of let him go, and if he was up and down and didn't run as much the week before as what he did the current week.
The training's monitored as well.
Training, everything, yeah. We'd let him kind of go. Sean Worley, for example, who was very sensitive to change, we would get him on a Thursday, Friday, and if he wasn't near what he did the week previous, he'd be running, and we'd top him up to a level. And it was all around an acceptance from the lads that by doing this, it's not a punishment, it's a reward. We'll reward you by keeping you as fit as we can to get you playing, and for the ones who like a bit of cash, the ones who want the appearance money, to keep you out there, we will do that for you, but you've got to do what we ask you to do.
Brilliant.
Very much results driven as well. In terms of like when you're winning, it's probably a lot easier to implement these changes.
Yeah.
If you're losing every week.
Yeah, that's it. So and from there, I remember the first game, Lenny again. It's like idolise him. He scored, I think it's Northampton, 87th minute winner, something like that. Lads got in, looked at this 103 club. All of a sudden, it's 103 and over, and they're like immediate buy-in. The first league game, they're buzzing for it because they felt sharp, they felt fit. All the way through it, it was like kind of again putting into them that they will be physically the best. They will be stronger than the opponent. And it got to a point down the line of the season where it's like we were drawing 20 minutes to go, and there was like a communal belief that would be like, you know what? Don't worry. If we're drawing 20 minutes to go, we're winning.
It's a bit like I was saying there, though. It becomes psychological.
It does, definitely. Belief. It's huge. And you could hear the lads would be like, come on, we'll run over the top of these now. And it's all of a sudden, mentality. It is, yeah. And it was a winner's mentality throughout. We had
that's what I was trying to instill, because obviously these lads are part-time that I was with. Completely different, of course, but they're part-time. So I had to use every little bit I could to try and get them to believe that was what it was all about. So it's fascinating.
Tell us a bit more about that season then. Memories.
Incredible. Like from start to end. And it was like everything just fit. Everything was a perfect fit. Players who come in were perfect.
Loan signings. Brilliant.
Yeah, loans were incredible. But like little things. So we went away to Portugal pre-season tour. And it's just, we trained hard, but then we also have a couple of nights out here and there in the middle of them. Gaffer's really good for that. He kind of put the lads in a position where he didn't say it was all right to go and have a bender, but it was all right to go and have a bender. So we'd go on a Wednesday afternoon, finish training, and the gaffer's like, right, your spare time now, lads, you can go and do what you want. I'll be going down the bar by the beach, and you're welcome to join me if you want.
Brilliant.
So everything just connected. It was my birthday, actually, when I was out. We were out there. And just little things. I'd kept it dead quiet because I thought, like, I'm not having anything to do with that. And I don't know, someone snitched me, which I wasn't happy about. But all of a sudden, like, I'm walking down with me flip-flops and me towel over my shoulder, like, going to get a bit of sun. And all the lads are, like, stood there, and I thought, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So I just literally thought, I'm just going to have to run here. So charged off, and Totes Enciala was grabbing me, and it was just straight away that feel, you know, like people go away in pre-season trying to forge relationships.
You do know, don't you?
It was kind of like that was there already, and we just got on brilliant nights out. The Wednesday night, so we'd have a few, and we'd be by the beach. Gaffer would start to say, right, training tomorrow, lads. So like you'll get found out if you stay out too late. So having a few beers, the staff stayed out, obviously a little bit later. And as we're walking back, all you can see in the distance are these like two heads in the rooms, just popping up every now and again. And Doigi, like the most angriest guy as standard. So what's that? What is that? I'm going to have a look. So he goes marching off. It's like we're obviously all wheeled at that point, so we're stacking in behind him, seeing what's happening. And all you can hear is like bang, crash. Walks up these stairs. Doigi's banging on the door. And then in the end, this door swings open. You've got John Nolan and Sean Worley, tops off, mattresses on the floor. Doigi's like, what are you doing? They're like, we're playing wrestling. Mate, drunk as skunks.
Yeah.
Steaming. Playing wrestling. It's like 30-year-old lads. And it's just like that type of mentality where what can you say to that? So I think we just shut the door and walked off. We'll see you tomorrow training.
And you got a good start then, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, so really good. Yeah, really good start.
So is this in the season? Do you say you come from relegation the year before? That's right.
Yeah, and
gone from like bottom to 12th, was it, or something?
I can't think where we finished, but we did really well. Climbed up really quickly, and that was through little changes. Like there wasn't. I couldn't really tell you what it was, other than just a better mentality. Yeah. But yeah, that season we went.
And that momentum then carried into that following season.
Yeah, and there was like ridiculous belief in the lads, really good loan signings. and just sort of accelerated straight into the season when I can't think how many went unbeaten, but there's a hell of a lot of games sort of unbeaten.
Top
Yeah, it started off,
Yeah,
didn't it?
top,
It's
yeah.
top for a long, long time.
And it's one of them where you kind of think, is the bubble going to burst? And in the back of your mind, you're kind of thinking, like, is it going to burst? And then you get to Christmas, you think, I'm in with a shout here. We'll be all right.
Still doing well. So good
10
couple of
games
good
in.
teams, weren't there, as well?
Yeah, some really strong teams, yeah. And probably missed a goal scorer at the end is what cost us. But like little things, togetherness. I mean, you talk about the players. We had...
Talk about the loan signings.
Oh, incredible. So we had Dean Henderson, and I remember the gaffer saying, as soon as he come in, he said, you will love him. Like, he is young, he's very confident, but you will love him as a lad. He's a brilliant guy. And he did. He kind of come in, and he was like... the gaffer pulled him into the...
He's only a young boy.
Oh,
as well,
he would have been...
19.
Yeah, 19, 20 he would have been.
To come into an experienced dressing room at 19.
Oh, Sam, honestly,
He was saying that about Shay Given, though. You were saying about Shay. He was 19 when he was worldy for you, wasn't he?
He was so funny. So, like, first day he'd sit down, and Doigy was there, Hursty, and he goes, right.
Doigy's not funny.
Oh, not funny at all, no. So Doigy sat there growling at him again, and he's like, right, Dean, who's the best goalkeeper in the world? And Dina went, me. Straight away. And so Gaffer starts to laugh. Everyone starts to laugh. He's like, no, serious. Who's the best keeper in the world? I think Buffon's the best keeper in the world. And Dina's like, no, genuinely, it's me. He's like, people just don't know it yet.
Oh,
and for a 19...
I love him.
But then at first I was a bit like, you cocky little sod. But then first training session, I was like, he is the best keeper in the world. Yeah, I mean, loan signings were brilliant. But again, most of all, nice lads.
What was Ben Godfrey?
Brilliant. Talk about mentality. And Lenny did really well with Ben because he kind of was there as an advocate and helped him through and a role model.
Ben Godfrey played centre
He's a
midfield
man.
that season.
Yeah, he's centre midfielder.
He was quality. I went to quite a few games. He was quality.
And again, for a young age, he was a man. And I think that's a big problem with loans. Sometimes you get these loanies in and they're just a bit too lightweight.
Played under 23 for a couple of years, academy football, and suddenly even with men.
That's it. So again, story after story. It was transfer deadline day. So the gaffer, at the point, we were like messing about a lot of the time. And the gaffer was like, look, going down to the ground, trying to get a few signings over the line. Just don't mess about to like all the staff. So anyway, Doigy gets left in charge. Me, Coyne and everything starts running amok. Totes walked into the canteen at Sundawn.
It's Enciala.
Enciala walked into the canteen and like walked past Ben and just joking, clipped Ben on the back of the head as he's walking past. And Ben went, oh, careful, I'll box your head off. And Totes went, go on then. Then all of a sudden, and it's all in like lightheartedness, but then at that point, like I'm on there,
Ego's kicked in.
Me food's out the way, and I'm banging on the table.
Come on, let's have it, wind it up, let's get this wound up.
You're good like that.
Oh, my wooden spoon was right out there. So before you know it, every single player, chef, kit man, everybody's in the gym in a big circle. I got a foam roller doing ring walks, like announcements with music. They come out all gloved up. And I think it was Carlton Morris. Carlton Morris, was filming it at the time, didn't realise, sent it to Norwich's WhatsApp group. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, like, Totes and Ben had a bit of a spar.
Yeah.
And my phone goes, Norwich doctor, what's all that about? So I was like, hello? It's like, oh, we've just been like made aware of a video where Ben looks like he's sustained a bit of a blow to the head. It's a day before the season starts. I'm thinking, oh,
you're there with your fist.
It's nothing to do with me.
That's the best thing. So
it's not the first time you've been caught on video.
Stop it. That'll come to that one over. That was the best thing. I was like, well, I'm going to have to investigate this, and thinking, I hope she don't know what I look like and get away with it. But like little things like that just really brought the team together.
They're so big, and moments like that. They're so big.
Who was your favourite player that season then? Who did you like? I don't mean as a lad. Who you thought
player wise? Yeah. You know what? There was a couple, because it's so good. You can't really. Dino's an obvious shout. Yeah. Ben's an obvious shout. Matt Sadler for me. He was just so calm. So he brought everyone together, really sort of settled everyone down in the moment.
Was he skipper that year?
Yeah, skipper, yeah. Well, between him and Agogo, Abs Agogo.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a person and the job that he did for the team, between Lenny and Sads, I guess, would be sort of the ones. But
what about John Nolan? Because obviously,
Nolo was class, but he's a grumpy old man. He literally walk into training last minute, hate doing any rehab, bowl out to training, be unbelievable at football.
Yeah.
Be like, right, lad, see you later, I'm off, and you have to drag him in the gym.
Yeah.
But it would be really hard to kind of narrow it down to even a couple. They would
About Rodders. Was Rodders any good?
Who's Rodders?
Alex Rodman, honestly, not cut out to be a footballer, but one of the most natural athletes I've ever seen.
I played with him, and it was one of them where you'd be screaming at him like, "I'm going to kill him." When we get to the half time, I swear down now, I don't care what anyone says. There's nothing you can say to me now. When we get in there, I'm going to smash his face in.
Is that a winger?
Yeah.
I'm going to smash his face in. And I'm shouting at him, and he's like, does that whole we can't hear you. Screaming, I'm going to smash his face in, telling all the rest of the lads, when we get in there, don't even try and get involved, I'm going to do him. Right, no problem. And then he would just do something, and he'd 25 yards out, and he'd smash it in the top corner. He's got that celebration. He has his arms out really wide. And obviously when...
Is he a bit of a pretty boy?
Yeah. But brilliant. Honestly, such a brilliant lad. I roomed with him for a period of time as well. And he was just that lad that's so frustrating, and then just would come up with magic. And give him his due, he would graft. He would work hard. You couldn't ever say to him that he wouldn't, but it's just that sometimes he'd just switch off and you'd be going crazy, and then he'd just come up with something that was amazing. Great lad.
You try and speak to him and try and have a serious conversation with him. He'd just go like, yeah, but lad. He'd just be like, no, shut up. Listen to what I'm telling you. Yeah, but lad.
What about Wembley, Skitty? Tell us about O2 Wembley.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
That's a dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wembley,
it is.
You go twice in a season.
Yeah, so like you say, boy, your dream is to play or be involved at something at Wembley, and Johnston Paint.
When was the first one?
Johnston Paint, that was. So whenever that would be.
I went to the game, but was it in March?
In March, I don't even know.
A bit before then. Wait till no. Wait, March. Oh, just, I've got something right.
Yeah. Did we go to that with the kids?
Yeah, we went in the minibus.
We went in the crossbar minibus, didn't we? Got everybody in the back, mate. Went down there. It was brilliant.
Yeah, so it's like you walk in, and it is, as you could imagine, everything is there that you could ever want. So you're walking around and your eyes are just wide open. You kind of wasn't full or anywhere near full for the Johnston Paint, but even at the game.
Did you go down? Did you go down the day before?
We went down. Oh, I've got a funny story with that one actually.
And visit the pitch, the stadium, all those sorts of things.
We went down 2 nights before, so stayed over there for 2 nights. And the first night, Kevin Bridges, a Scottish comedian.
Yeah.
Oh, he was doing Soccer AM the next morning.
Looks like Darren Moss.
He's class.
Yeah. So he was in the bar. So all of a sudden, you just I think we were up to 4 o'clock in the morning with him, and he was just non-stop hilarious. All the lads are in bed.
Yeah.
Put that right. Yeah. But yeah, it's a brilliant time. And then went down the day before. I had a little look round to try and just get used to it. And
did you train?
No, didn't train on there. Weren't allowed.
No, in general, did you?
Trained at we did. We trained at where did we train? Brentford. We trained at Brentford's training ground. So yeah, the usual setup and the usual preparation, but you go into the ground, and no matter how much you're prepared for it, you're just in awe. You kind of walk through, and I'm a bit of a softie in many ways, so you're just playing through your heads of the goals you've seen and the things that have happened at that ground. You're just wow, it is so colossally big, and just everything that's gone on there. It's almost like a sense of occasion as you're walking into an empty stadium. Yeah, I got there, and on the day probably didn't perform brilliantly or as well as what we should have. I don't know if you remember, Dino got flattened. Really nasty.
Centre forward took him out, didn't he?
Yeah, it's really nasty.
You came on for Dino.
Yeah, so it's literally seconds into the game, Cross come in, and how he's never got sent off, I'll never know. Again, your best keeper, one of your best players is there. Yeah. And as a physio, I'm running on the pitch, trying to think through in that instant what you do with a neck injury. Is he breathing? What's the state of his spine and all that?
A big game for a physio to be coming
massive,
on. Massive,
And so what was he? He was flat?
He was absolutely fine. No, he's conscious, thankfully.
He was lying.
Oh, yeah, flat on his back. And I got there, and he's like, what's that farmer just done to me? Straight away. What's that farmer just done to me? So I obviously start to have a bit of a chuckle and that, but get up. But yeah, it is. It's that first moment of Jesus Christ. I'm running onto the pitch there, and then dealing with that. And yeah, it didn't quite happen for us both games, really.
So it was 1-0 the first game.
That's right, yeah. And what
was the disappointment like, Alex? Because obviously it's not the league, it's the cup. Was it?
Kind of refocused us, I suppose, and sort of right, we do everything at that time now to go up. Like everything we do, we go up now. That's the biggest achievement that we'll make. So in some ways, it refocused us a little bit.
Yeah.
Just before you talk about the final, I went to the Charlton. It was Charlton, wasn't it?
Yeah, Charlton semis.
That was amazing atmosphere.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, what was your recollections of that
Oh,
game?
incredible. So the away tie was first, and where Nolo scored the unbelievable volley. And it's funny because all through the game and all in the lead up to it, Doigi, Captain Sensible, was like, look, like, don't get too carried away. Don't, like, nice and calm. If we score, calm. So, like, we then score the goal. I'm trying to, like, sit on my hands thinking, like, I really want to celebrate, but we've spoken about being calm. I look over to me right, and Doigi's there punching the air like that. So, but yeah, it's like, then just a belief. Like, we went into the home game, and it's weird because I never felt at any point that we were going to lose that game or not go through. And it was almost like that expectancy that, no, we are winning this game and we'll go to Wembley. Yeah.
It was an amazing atmosphere, though.
Brilliant.
Were you there?
No, I was watching games, but I remember watching both those games. I was at the Johnson's Paint game. I went to that. But sorry to keep butting in, but if I take it back a little bit, so you've done the Johnson's Paint game or whatever it's called, Checker Trade Trophy.
Yeah.
You're still in the top 2 at this point, are you?
Yeah, still top 2 at that point.
Top 2.
Yeah.
Was there a point leading up to the playoffs where you started to dip, started to lose a bit of form, whatever? Was there any point there that you can put your finger on for that was a moment where it got away from us? Because obviously you're in the top 2 the whole season.
Up
until how long left was in the season?
It was only probably 5 games to go.
Yeah. Did you feel like it was flagging a little bit because small squad
couldn't score?
That was our problem. So we had a little dip in form that related to the goals. And I remember kind of thinking, we need to find some goals. But never really, it was more so form rather than performance in terms of we were still running, we were still doing all right. But it was just the clinical taking chances.
A little bit of quality up front, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And you look at it now and you think we were literally one half decent striker. Yeah. Not even like prolific, just a half decent striker away.
Yeah.
The top 2 teams, just to put in context of how well Shrewsbury had done that year. Blackburn was one of them, was it?
Blackburn and Rotherham
Wigan.
Played. Wigan.
Yeah.
It was Wigan, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, but colossal going
top
against.
3, ahead of
points and points. And any other season, we would have won it at a canter.
Yeah.
But it was just sort of an exceptional season for a number of teams.
And I think what was amazing about the Charlton game, the amount of times that you see a team miss out on the top 2 and finish the disappointment, and then they go and fluff their lines in the semi-finals, whereas you guys re-galvanised.
Yeah, so
went again.
I remember the gaffer sort of coming in and saying, we need a bit of time off. And I was looking at all the figures and thinking, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know.
Why are we not sure about that?
Just because if we would have had sort of a significant amount of time off, the numbers would have dipped and it wouldn't have given us enough time to get the lads back up to where they should have been. So in the end, we battered these ideas forwards and backwards. And we ended up having a couple of days off either side of some quite intense training blocks. And it just worked for the Charlton game, run into it. Just worked brilliantly. Lads were right up for it. So yeah, it did kind of bring us back all in together and just got to a point where we're like, okay, we're ready now. Like, now's our time.
Played really well at Shrewsbury.
Brilliant.
He was electric.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best atmospheres I've been at. And
yeah.
It seems daft because it's at Shrewsbury, but it was fantastic.
Oh, and Nolo's goal is just, I watched it the other day, funnily enough, it popped up on like a Facebook moment or whatever, and you look at it, you just think, it is incredible, the goal.
It was late on as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, 80 odd minutes, yeah.
So Skitty, so there's the playoff final, and I remember as a fan there, I was going there with boys and family as a fan, thinking, well, they've had the experience previously, so you know how it's all going to work, so you've got to be favourites to win.
Did you change anything?
Yeah, we changed it, so we didn't feel that the 2 days prior worked well. We just felt there was a lot of sort of dead time, lads waiting about, and like checker trade and going to Wembley is good, but then all of a sudden, like the implications, the implications of getting to the champ, and there was a lot getting sort of heaped in the press, and all of a sudden there's a lot riding on it. So we made a decision to say, you know what, we're going to go night before, stay over and prepare like we would do a normal away game, which is what I probably would have done both times if I had my own way. So yeah, change that. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Like absolutely exactly the same.
Train in Shrewsbury in the morning.
Train Shrewsbury in the morning, travelled down, then just had a nice restful evening. And I remember waking up the next morning, the morning of the final, and thinking, yeah, we've got it right. And,
There was a good, like,
just a
you
good
felt
feel.
confident. The gaffer felt confident.
Yeah, Sam Jones. I don't know if you remember him. I don't know where he's playing now. He got up the night before, and the tradition that newer players do a song.
Yeah. Wow, his song was unbelievable.
He got up. Honestly, it's like X Factor. It was incredible.
But brilliant for the lads.
But lads are like banging on the tables, and so like I kind of woke up and thought, like we've cracked it. Like this is us. This is our time. And then it just, I don't know. We'd had a few good ding dongs with Rotherham through the season. And obviously the gaffer was friendly with the Rotherham manager. And I just kind of thought this is us. We've got it. And obviously we conceded early, I think. Got a really good set-piece goal. Really unbelievable.
If you're listening to this and you haven't seen this, to score a set-piece goal like this at Wembley.
You know what? We worked on it.
Coach's dream.
But you know what? Like, everyone was saying, it must have been worked on over and over again. We must have done it about 3 times. All worked as well as that. And the gaffer's like, right, that's it. Not doing them again. And then to do it at the most
Alex
important.
Rodman who put the last touch in.
Yeah, Sads with a little touch around the corner, which I unheard of. Always trying to clear it.
What's he doing?
And then Rodder's like a little dink finish, and then I've been too kind to Lenny, so then Lenny lost his man for the goal for the winner. Richard Wood, is it?
Yeah. He scored 2.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
What was that like then? So what was that like coming in from that? I mean,
just massive emotions, and then like. Again, I probably say I'm a bit cold-hearted at times and hide my emotions a bit. But then I just remember like feeling myself on the pitch, and whether it's all the culmination of everything that you've put into the season. John Taylor, who was playing for Rotherham at the time, who'd lived with me John had lived with me for probably 4 years. So like it's my little brother, basically. Lad, lovely lad. He came over to me, he's like, "You all right, lad?" And I just started crying. I thought, like, in my head, I'm like, "You soft bastard, like, liven up, what are you doing?" But I just like...
You put everything into it.
Everything.
It's worse. You got so...
That's what it was,
10th.
yeah.
You are literally so close and it's all just falling away.
And it is.
You are nowhere. You're back where you started.
All that.
It's like that Shrewsbury. You're a Shrewsbury lad. Like, you wanted to take him in the
At least you knew you had Ipswich lined up.
No, there's none of that. There's none of that. No,
that was in the bag, wasn't it?
I sorted that out the night before.
there was none of that.
but the overriding emotion must be, because me watching it as a fan, it felt like everything had come together that season.
Yeah.
There was so much effort. It was the perfect storm with the loan signings, everything there. To then lose and try and do it again. Do you know what I mean? That just seemed so unfathomable that could ever happen. So it just felt like it was now or never.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
Or it's going to take a big rebuild.
Yeah,
It was so scary, wasn't it? I mean,
that's
it was
what
now or never.
Yeah,
really,
it was.
because you knew Dean Henderson was going, you knew Godfrey was going. You thought Nolan's going to get a move, NCR was going to get a move.
Yeah.
You just thought, it's a big rebuilding job.
Yeah, it is.
A short summer as well to change it around.
Yeah, and it's just that like feeling
Roland's tight as crap.
It's like feeling being empty. Almost, it's like I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say. I don't know. At the same time as part of the coaching team, you kind of like, I want to go around and support the players as well and make sure they're all right. Dealing with your own sort of grieving, I suppose, as daft as it sounds, at the same time as trying to support the players. It's horrendous. So I went and we got into a change room, went and sat sort of around the corner, and I just sort of like sat there for 5 minutes or so in silence. Just couldn't talk, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to act. But then at the same time, you think, well, you got to put your best foot forwards and move on with it.
Have any of you boys ever lost a playoff final?
No, I lost the League Two playoff semi-final.
Yeah, I think the final.
We would have got to Wembley, so I never played at Wembley, but I lost against Swansea.
Yeah, I've never done actually been playing and lost the final. So, but everyone always says best way to get promoted. But like it was for us when we got promoted at the conference, that was incredible, wasn't it?
Fantastic. Yeah,
it's better than winning the league. That is, but losing must be.
Oh, it's soul destroying.
And like. Players are looking at it from different, like money, things like that. Your money's going to shoot up in the championship.
It's all a knock-on effect of going to the championship. I mean, I know you still might be sweating on your place a little bit, but you think, well, if you've had a good season,
especially if you're in contracts, because you think like, well, I've got the security of worst case.
I'm sure lads have probably got some bonuses written in there as well, like promotion bonuses and stuff. So
slightly different, but obviously we had it at Telford, and we ended up going to Gateshead on a Friday night for the playoff final, and I think it's like most successful season in the club's history. So like we'd fallen at every hurdle. So we got to the FA Trophy, fallen at the last hurdle. We got to our third round of the FA Cup and like got beaten extra time. We went and won the one that was probably least sort of needed or wanted was the Setanta, which was that. I don't know if you remember that. It was the Satanta Shield, that they're sort of like the League Cup of the FA Cup of the non-league, really. And then, but we went there on a Friday night all the way to Gateshead. They absolutely killed us, and we destroyed them all night as well. Absolutely destroyed it. I always remember Danny Kerry-Bertram was like a yard out, and he was already, he's sort of side-footing it in and wheeling away at the same time. And the keeper was on the floor, he put his arm out, and he was just, had an absolute nightmare. But we lost that night, and I know it's slightly different in terms of like the pay structures and the contracts and stuff. But I just remember that feeling of like, it was such a long. I played 67 games that season, and it was such a long season. It was so difficult, and I remember that was the last game, and I remember being totally worn out, totally like drained, and so disappointed, and then just knowing you got to go from Gateshead all the way back down. It was absolutely
even worse.
That's the feeling, isn't it? Afterwards,
empty.
Horrendous.
Yeah, just like empty.
And we spoke about it before about players in that situation. So imagine a championship playoff final where the money for the club, for yourself, you're probably doubling your money yourself, and everyone else's money as well. You go into that game, you don't want to be the one who makes a mistake. Yeah. So it takes big players for Shrewsbury to say, right, no, I'm going to be the hero today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe on that day when I watched the game, it just felt like maybe slightly playing within themselves.
Yeah, I look back. So I watched it back, and I just felt they were tentative, like across
which you
the
can
park.
understand.
Definitely.
And so much on it, though, isn't it? Like,
and that's the thing.
So much on it. It's people. People's lives. Contracts.
And I still believe if we would have done what we did all season to get us to that point, we would have won the game. Right. Yeah. But we just took the foot off the gas a little bit. Again, the occasion probably did get the better of us.
So then, Skitty.
Controversial females.
Here we go.
Now then, here we go. This is the bit you need to watch. Let's make sure this recording. How did the Ipswich thing come about?
Well, you know what? So a lot of people said that they thought the gaffer had known about Ipswich for a long time before.
That's why there's
that's where it's whipped up. Yeah. So I kind of heard.
Can you say that for the record?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I can say for myself, nobody knew other than him if he did know.
It hadn't even been mentioned.
Not even mentioned. I'd heard whisperings around sort of the fans and
living room.
A text about the gaffer. Don't worry, Skitty. Even if we lose up, we're off to Ipswich.
Yeah. So I'd heard whisperings from fans and whatever to say that like the Mick McCarthy hadn't or announced that he was going, and that the gaffer was in the frame for it.
But even if the gaffer's in the frame, that doesn't mean you.
No, far from it.
Right,
very rarely, really, in the lower end leagues does a physio go. So I kind of like kept my way, and at the time I had I was talking to Fleetwood at the end of the season, and sort of was in a position where I was like, well, okay,
why were you talking to anybody? Just because?
Like you got a lot of opportunities that come your way because of that. The season that you had.
Success,
so
it's the same way a player does.
Exactly. So I was quite frank. Went into the chairman. Like I owe the chairman everything.
So are you under contract? You've got.
So it's an employment.
What's a physio?
Can depend. It can vary completely. But I was under an employment contract, so I had a notice period.
It's different than a player, really, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is different. And often you're a club contract of employment rather than sort of a player's contractual obligation for X amount of years.
It's a fixed term as opposed to a contract of employment.
You just got to give notice, basically.
Yeah, give notice, as you would do in any other normal job.
Yeah, a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, so I went up and I wanted, because of, again, I owe the chairman everything. He's a brilliant guy, like so fond of the chairman. I thought it was right for me to go and be frank with the chairman and say, look, like I've been offered Fleetwood. It's a lot more money than what I was on. Obviously, I've got a decision to make sure that that's what I do in my career, and
at this point, you got
to go higher.
A partner and children at this point as well, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's kind of all that into consideration. You've got to think.
Fans never think about it.
Yeah,
you've got a family, and you're securing your family's future.
Yeah, so like I went in, and he was brilliant. Like he was absolutely brilliant, and said, "Look, like you've done so much time with me, and you've been great with me. If that's what you're going to do, then I appreciate you sort of talking about it." And this was I was on holiday, and I'd agreed with Joey Barton that when I got back, I'd drive to Fleetwood and go and sign a contract there and get going, basically.
How did you know Joey then?
It was through an agent. It was an agent sort of who come into me, who worked on behalf of Joey, and sort of said, look, like, would you be interested? So I spoke to the chairman, went and spoke then up to Fleetwood. And
when you spoke to the Shrewsbury chairman,
yep.
So were you then hoping he would come with a bit more money or somewhere to meet in the middle?
Yeah,
or,
it's hard.
Or you closed off Shrewsbury at that point? You was like, I'm going to go.
Far from it. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go anywhere. Like I said, a Shrewsbury lad, like love Shrewsbury, and although I'll always say I support Wolves, I support Shrewsbury as well.
Yeah. So when he said all the best, you were like, oh.
yeah. Can we talk about it more? No, so like it got to a point where
how long is this after? Just to give a bit of context.
So
how long is this
it
after
would have
the
been 2-3 weeks, I'd say. Yeah, like a bit of time.
The normal time where people are sorting out.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was Paul Hurst, the manager's situation? Had he left at this point?
No one knew anything about that at that point. Like it was just sort of all as far as we were concerned. We'd spoken about players for Shrewsbury.
Have you spoken to the gaffer? Have you spoken to Paul Hurst and said to him, look, I'm
and he just basically stonewalled it and said, well, like, you've got to do what's right. Like, you do what you want to do.
So you would have thought at that moment, if he had something lined up and he was going to take you, he'd have gone at that just old fire.
Yeah, you would have thought so. Like, maybe you'd look at something else. Exactly. So like I kind of went on holiday and was speaking to Fleetwood whilst I was on holiday. Got it agreed that like it was pretty much there. When I got back, I'd drive straight up there, sign it, and jobs are good. And then the day I hadn't heard anything from like Hursty or the club, Shrewsbury club, hadn't heard anything. Then all of a sudden, I got a message off Hursty, can you talk? So I was like, yeah. And in the meantime, all the news broke that he'd gone to Ipswich, signed. Now within,
have you heard this?
I found out off Twitter. Yeah. So I looked on holiday. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I like looked through and I was like,
the chairman found out.
Oh yeah. so I'm looking through.
Jane come running in.
Yeah. So I like all of a sudden I'm thinking like your head's spangled, innit? You're kind of looking at it thinking, I thought I got on well with the gaffer and he's not told me anything. Yeah. All of a sudden he's gone there. Then get the message saying like, can you speak? So I was like, well, yeah, I'm on holiday. Phone me. He's like, I don't know whether you know, I've gone to Ipswich. I want you to come with me. So I said to him, look, Gaff, I've pretty much sorted with Fleetwood that I'm going there. Kind of told the club, Shrewsbury, that like that's that, and that's my decision. So he's like, right, well, just hang fire and make a decision. So anyway, a few more conversations went on there, and then it was got back. That was that, Ipswich. And
so why Ipswich over Fleetwood? Apart from the obvious answer, more money.
No, you know what?
Joey Barton was buzzing as well.
It was a lot of it was to do with the gaffer. Like I knew going into Ipswich, the gaffer would let me do what I wanted to do, and
your role was slightly different, wasn't it? At Ipswich?
Yeah, so I was head of medical services at Ipswich. So
it's like a promotion as well.
Exactly, and playing in Champ where Fleetwood are in League One. So I'm ambitious and sort of don't make any apologies about being ambitious.
It's that whole thing about football again, isn't it? You get criticised for going to a higher team, a better team, for more money, and it's the only thing in the world where you get criticised.
It's one of the only occupations you get hammered for.
Hold on a minute, I'm getting criticised for improving myself and getting more money. Yeah. How can you get criticised for that?
And that's the thing, like, to put context on it, I quite easily over doubled my salary.
Yeah.
So in any walk of life, why wouldn't you do that?
You've got a partner and a child.
Yeah.
And you challenge anyone, don't you, to turn that down? I mean, I know that there are.
If under the cosh coming for me and double me salary, which is currently zero, I'm off that. I'll tell you now. I am gone.
You can go, Sam.
Yeah. So and then all of a sudden,
no severance pay.
But it's hard because sort of then you've got friends who are avid Shrewsbury fans, so they're into you.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, you knew and everything else. I'm like, look, genuinely, on my kids' lives, I didn't have a clue. And then things start niggling away and think, well, like, what happened when the gaffer didn't go to that training session that he'd normally go to, or he didn't hang about at the gym a bit longer than what he... Yeah, so you kind of then sort of question it. So I got to a point, we were playing Derby away for Ipswich. Gaffer had a few on the night time, and I was like, right, I'm going to take the opportunity. So I just went to him and said, right, Gaff, how soon did you know that you were leaving Shrewsbury?
Put it on him.
Oh, straight on him. Yeah. Straight on him. I'll wait until he was pissed. Like.
There was a room he had an Ipswich polo on underneath his suit.
No, to be fair,
what did he say?
If he just absolutely stonewalled it. He said, I didn't know anything. Like, whether he towed the line of the political line of what he said, I don't know. Like, even to this day, I don't know. Yeah. But he was like, no, the day after Wembley, that's when I got communication through my agent. I agreed it then after that. Went to Dubai, I think he went to or something. But yeah, so like absolutely stonewalled it and was adamant. Things happen in football, don't they?
So, how did Shrewsbury react then as a club to that?
The chairman was brilliant. Chairman and Jane were absolutely superb.
So Jane is the chairman's assistant.
Club secretary, I think she is, yeah. So again, like I remember the day I left, I walked in and went up to the chairman just to say thanks, and had a brilliant relationship with the chairman, and still do now. And like, I don't mind saying I was in absolute tears, like bawling my eyes out like a little baby. He's
a great guy. He's a great guy. What he's done for the town, the football club, he is.
The fact that he made so much money, I think that half of that was off the fines he used to give me.
But that's the thing again, though, isn't it? He gets a little bit of criticism, I think, because of the success he's had.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think people have been close. Like, I always say to people, I speak as I find, and he was amazing with me.
I think, exactly. Anybody who's close and knows him personally, I believe, will all say how much of a brilliant guy
he was really good with you then. When
unbelievable, and
everyone was everyone.
I mean, on the whole, the whole club were really good. It was actually it was
anyone. Hello, City. Anyone not?
It was after I went. Then all of a sudden, these things again, like Shrewsbury's a small town and a small club. So like all of a sudden, these things start coming back to you drip by drip, and you're like, that's not happened. Like things were getting said, and not the chairman at all, not Jane.
Oh.
And again. No, like sort of things were dripping back in, and I just thought, I've done 10 years at the football club, part of an unbelievably successful season, albeit didn't quite get there, saved the club millions of pounds through insurance fees and other bits and bobs, and then to sort of hear those things coming back, I just felt was a little bit distasteful. And the fact of people had got my number, I'd actually tried to make contact with other people at the same time as well, didn't get sort of the phone answered. So I left it, and I was just really disappointed that I'd spent years at the club and sort of put my time and effort into the club, and to have those things getting fed back to me as what was being said, it's heart-wrenching at the time, because I think like I've given everything.
But I think you just said it there. I think if you leave, and then whispers start to go into the club where the people who have supported you and nurtured you and give you opportunities, and they start hearing these, like Sam says, conspiracy theories, you can understand why they feel a bit disgruntled, why they might get their back up a little bit. But like you just said there, your number is in their phone. So that's the moment where you would hope that they would give you the call and go, look, not being funny, Skitty, but I'm hearing these stories. Yeah, brilliant, you've been great for us, but I'm not happy about what I'm hearing. And it gives you an opportunity there. But that dialogue never happened.
Never happened. And I tried to sort of initiate that. So I'd made phone calls to say. But yeah, I mean, whilst that is tinged with sadness, I won't let that affect what I thought of the club and what I think of the people. I mean, the board throughout were brilliant to me, as I said.
Fans were brilliant.
Fans, brilliant.
Because as a physio, you don't often get a lot of recognition, but you were quite famous.
Oh, so fortunate. Yeah, really fortunate.
Because you're one of them, aren't you? Like you're Shrewsbury.
I am. Yeah,
but you deserved it with what you did from a professional point of view. Take away being a fan and everything like that professionally.
It's a job.
I get that.
I mean, if I told some of the stories on air about you, then maybe not.
It'd be a different story. Yeah.
If we look at what they see.
And it is like from a young lad really coming out in my first proper job is what I would class it as. Jane, the chairman, James Hughes, even Mal Starkey, all so supportive. And like I've got so much respect. Really good people, Sam, really good people. And sort of, I wanted to, then fast forward a couple of years when I left football, I kind of moved back to Love to Stay, and I thought, brilliant, now's an opportunity where I can, from a distance, don't want any accolades, don't want any fuss making, but I can do all I can to support the club.
Quality.
And do you have any ties with Shrewsbury Town now at all? Then?
Well, again, unofficially. I mean, I have seen players who had sort of taken a prolonged period out, weren't quite progressing as well as what they wanted to in their rehab. I saw them under the radar, said I didn't want a fuss making, didn't want anything being sort of said, because I didn't want it to become inflammatory. I genuinely wanted to get that player back onto the field to do the best for Shrewsbury.
Let the other physio take the credit for it.
So be it.
But Shrewsbury's got an expert under their nose, so tap into that, isn't it?
Yeah,
do that. It's like being a head teacher. I tap into other head teachers to help.
Well, it is about mentality then, isn't it? Because if you're then the physio and your players are seeing another physio, you've got two ways of taking that, haven't you? You can take that as like, you're undermining me, it's disrespectful, or you can say, like Sam says there, you're going brilliant.
That's about your own mindset, isn't
it? Of course. And I think like for you, Skitty, what I love it, like you just said there, you're not doing it for any sort of accolades. No. This is probably the first people know about it.
It is, yeah. Since you'd shocked us in that Lenny was coming down as well.
Yeah, Lenny was down there, and there was. But
it's one of those things. Like, obviously, I extended the offer to you. I'd love to stay. We've got such a brilliant cold pool at Love to Stay with the hot tubs, and I'd said, look, like, come on down, come on and use us as. Yeah. Recovery, we've got a little space you could use, we've got a gym.
Mate, I've not had many opportunities to thank you for that. I mean, I know you're a very humble guy.
You've extended this to Shrewsbury as well, though, haven't you?
Yeah. So at the same time as
actually from a Telford perspective,
Broadley Primary School.
There's a reason for that.
From a Telford perspective, obviously, when I was there, again, it's well documented. Like, you know, we had no resources. Financially, it was tough, and that's not to be disrespectful to anyone. That's just the reality of what it is. But I did beg, steal and borrow a little bit. Lilleshall National Sports Centre were good to me, but you were just like above and beyond, so good to us. Like, you know, any players that needed that. We're part-time as well, you know. You've got a player going down injured and they're seeing a physio once, twice a week if you're lucky. To have that on hand, on tap, come down, you know, state-of-the-art complex, gym complex, Aaron the physio there, the cold water pool, the hot cold therapy. I mean, we were so fortunate. So yeah, a massive thank you from me.
Oh, no, it's my
so brilliant, Skit.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Football, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's been a big change. Like,
it's been a very big balance. We'll talk through Ipswich because we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
Well, we'll talk about controversy. Let's talk about like while we are on Ipswich. I mean, the biggest one that I want to know is. Like, my favourite thing is my mate going, your mate's on Twitter, yeah? And I'm like, oh, right. And he passes me the phone. And I have a look and I'm going, why is he doing this silly little dance? Like, is he on the pitch there? And the next thing I know, it's blown up and everyone's calling me going, mate, your pal's in a bit of trouble, isn't he? What's that?
Oh, man. You know what? So, like, obviously things got a bit tough for the gaffer and staff. Yeah, really Ipswich. Struggling. Yeah, really struggling for results.
Why do you think that is, if you don't mind?
I don't mind at all. A lot of it was players. A lot of it were player power and people talk about it, but it was, in this case, players didn't take to the decisions that he was making, and ultimately, I believe that's what cost him the job.
And did you find it hard? Did you have a difficulty getting players to do what?
You know what? They were great with me. Like, I must say, they were brilliant with me. Yeah. But I think, again, sort of Doigie come in with his sort of standards and it's very very dictatorial. It's
hard to do
zero
banter. You go up, isn't it?
Is that a nice way of saying zero banter?
Zero banter. I'll happily tell you zero banter. Yeah. So yeah, all of a sudden, the players who sort of were the primary stakeholders in the team, I guess, the sort of the ones who've been there the longest, all of a sudden there was a bit of a change as to there were a little bit more dissenting voices. They were sort of bit more argumentative with.
It comes with results though a little bit.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
If you lose a few, even I mean, I'm sure at Shrewsbury, even if you had a great group, even when the best group in the world,
it could turn the other way.
Games,
yeah, exactly. So
on our promotions one, didn't we? Remember when we were talking about the promotion stuff?
It's what comes first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The results,
definitely. So then, no, it's all right. So I played Leeds away, and I remember a couple of days before the game, we sit there, and the gaffer's like, "I'm going to change it. That's it." And I remember him saying, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang, I'm going to change it. So get to the game, didn't know the team, got to the hotel, and he's named this team, and it's literally like he's had his sword out, he's chopping, like, unbelievable, like Zorro. And,
decimated. You're out, you're out.
So I'm like sat at the back thinking, oh God, he's gone.
He's going to upset.
He's gone in here.
It'll be tricky.
But then, like, your brain starts ticking. You think, there's going to be like a few unhappy people on the bench. I need to keep them with us as much as we can. So anyway, get to the game and warm up. And there's a few lads.
Which is a dream. Sorry, Skitty. It's a dream for a manager that to know that you've got players who are sort of on the cusp of like turning their back on you or going the other way. To have someone who can get round them and just have that initiative to go, I'm going to get amongst them here and just try and get them on side and
that's the thing. Like I saw that as an extended part of my job, that you needed to go get the players with you because ultimately they're the ones who are going to get you the results. Yeah. So I remember sort of doing the warm up and I was thinking, it's not a great atmosphere here, like a bit toxic. Got to half time and I think we were in the game. I don't know if it was like 1-1 or something like that, or maybe 1-0 down at half time. And the players are just like, we're just toeing the ball to each other, like toe poking the ball to each other, not interested.
Which looks terrible.
Awful.
Going on to what we're about to talk to, that looks horrendous.
Yeah. So I'm there thinking, like, I need to
This is the subs warming.
This is subs at half time, in a circle, which is traditionally what happens with a player in the middle. So I'm thinking I need to get like a bit of enthusiasm, a bit of intensity, because if a player goes down 5 minutes into the second half, one of these lads need to go straight into it. And it was Bielsa ball at the time, so he was like, there were players flying everywhere. Leeds, like, we were getting run over the top of. So I'm like, they need to be of a level. So all of a sudden, like the ball's come round in a circle, got played through someone's legs, Megs. Half a little reaction from some of the players, like, "Way!" Yeah. So I thought, right, here's my chance here. I'm going to get them like going a little bit. So I jump up, start doing a little dance, trying to get a bit of motivation.
Terrible dance as well.
I thought I was quite loose, mate. Snake hips.
Very stiff.
We'll have to put a link in the bio if we can or something.
Yeah.
So didn't think any more of it. Like, actually walked off after half time thinking, fair play.
I've done a job there.
Got them going here. Got a reaction.
A little bit,
That's it. Got a reaction. Oh my God, we got beat 3-1, I think it was, in the end. Walked in at full time. Gaffer had done his little talk and debrief after the game. I pull my phone out. I have never seen so many notifications.
Heart sinks.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
So it's like, clown, get out of our club. Take Hurst with you. What are you doing? And I'm like, it's a bit harsh. We've only lost 3-1. I think they were quite good, Leeds. Then all of a sudden I'm tagged into this video of it. I'm just thinking, oh my God.
You were a little bit
like
disrespectful.
You're not taking
it does, and that's like the worst thing for me. I was like, it looked disrespectful against the gaffer, and the commentator, I don't know who it was sort of saying like, oh, it's a disgrace when they're that low down the league. And I'm like, in my head, like my intentions were quite the opposite. Like get the lads going, fight for the gaffer. Oh my God. So driving home on the M62 and all of a sudden my phone goes off. I look down at my screen. Chief Exec at Ipswich. And like all plays through your mind, done it at the minute. I'm thinking, I'm not answering it. I've got to answer it. I don't know what I'm going to do. So just like press green tentatively, and I was like,
"Evening,
how are you?
I just said,
keeping well.
I think I know what you're phoning about." And then all of a sudden, like, he was great. In fairness, like, he's really good. And then I phoned the gaffer after, or I might have told him at the ground, and he's just like, "Look, you're trying to do the right thing. It's clear what you were trying to do. Obviously, it's ill-timed, and like
in football, it's clear. I think that people from the outside looking in will think." With everything, if you're going for a bad time at football, people expect your lives to stop and you be miserable. Do you know what I mean? They don't expect you to go home and
can't be smiling.
No.
And can't be going out for a meal with your family.
That's the thing. The worst part of it all, there was actually a motive in my head to try and get the lads going as well.
Well, like Dave says there, when I saw it, I think it was about half an hour after the game, and I just knew straight away what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Without even thinking, I was like, brilliant.
Was it after you said it to me or before?
Before.
He's getting sacked in the morning.
I sent it to Dave and went, look at this idiot.
Oh my God. Honestly,
delete his name out your phone.
That moment when I opened up my phone and just saw the dance, I was like, oh my God.
It's that feeling when you feel sick.
Oh, it does.
When you've made a mistake or something and you just feel, it's horrible.
And
but then, what happened from then?
So we had a couple of games then after that, and it was sort of bundling along. Then the manager got the sack. I got a phone call and said it wasn't from the gaffer. Didn't speak to the gaffer for about a week after that, after he got the sack. I had a phone call from the chief exec. He was just like, look, manager's gone. Want you to still be part of the club. A lot of the players have spoken really well of you. We want you to stay down there. And it was like the end of the world travelling anyway. Obviously with Doig it was even further. So I used to travel down with Doig. It's the most painful 4 hours of my life.
Just turn the radio up, Doig.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Far throw myself out the window.
So were you commuting most days then?
Yeah. So we sort of lived down a couple of days, and then like we're travelling back as much as we could. And
living down there's tough, isn't it? Like,
and like
not
it's
tough as
yeah.
travelling 4 hours every day.
So then I lasted maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that, and Lambert was just in the process of coming in and sort of had a chat, and I was just like, look, I don't want to do it. It's too far. I just can't justify it. And he was brilliant. Like, he's really good. Spoke to him very briefly. And that was it. I'd sort of spoke to Salop Leisure in the meantime.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must have been trying to line something
Yeah,
up
so I mean, I'm really fortunate that Tony and Mark Bebb, the owners at Salop Leisure, have always kind of said that they would like me at some point to sort of come into the business. Right. So I kind of put on their toes a little bit and said, look, I'm
available.
Yeah.
Please.
6-month contract, lucrative. So just sort of said to them, look, I'm available. What's the situation? And credit to them, sort of within matter of days, a contract dropped on me door, read through it, and that was that. So yeah, a bit of a jump, and missed the whole atmosphere of football. And it's like people will say, "Oh yeah, I bet it's brilliant." I don't think you realise how good it is until you sort of have been there and then come away from it. But yeah, I mean, very different, and sort of what's acceptable with a bit of banter in football. Like you walk into an office space.
Mate, you do not have to tell me that. I know that as well as anybody. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you walk in, like, oi. Everyone just like looks at you. But no, it's brilliant, and again a different stage, I guess, of my journey and my life, and mate. Very very different, but very good.
Fantastic. We've got a few little fun questions as well. A few things we want to find out. What's this worked with AJ?
Oh yeah, so Marv Morgan, unfortunately, obviously passed away recently. So I was real friendly with Marv, brilliant guy. So I was very fortunate that when Anthony Joshua was just getting going and just starting sort of his career, Marv came up to me and said, "Look, got a boxer, Olympic gold winner, and like unbelievable boxer. He will be the best in the world, but he's hurt his shoulder going into his 5th fight." And it's a bit of my claim to fame, I suppose, that went down there and saw him a few times and kind of looked at him and made a decision and put him in a position, I guess, to sort of say, look, shoulder would probably be better not fighting. So if you look back, I think it was his 5th fight. He cancelled his fight, and that was kind of due to an issue that he had that I believe was better him not fighting than fighting.
Promoters were buzzing.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I've never been asked back.
That was it. That was it. One only time. Laughing again. Get him in the ring.
See, he's dancing.
Eddie Hearn raging.
Raging. So, yeah, I mean, sort of went down, and more so as a favour to Marv than anything else. But, yeah, really good. He's colossal. Like, the guy's, it's like an Adonis, and like 10 foot tall, but again, lovely guy, and at that stage of his career, just wanted to do anything he could to be the best.
Talk about an Adonis. Who do you think in your career, when you look at him, who is the best trainer, the best athlete? Who's the pinnacle of player that you've worked with? Do you think?
Yeah, good. I mean, there's questions like Dino obviously springs into mind. Again, physically, he's streets ahead of many people. I remember him going
as a kid.
Even as a kid, I remember him going to the England under 21s, and he come back and he was like, "I've just beat every record." Danny Welbeck for the jump height smashed his record. Said it's been held for like X amount of years. He said, out jumped him easy, and
he would jump above the crossbar, wouldn't he?
Oh, easily.
Save.
I've never seen anything like his spring. So. Obviously, he springs to mind, and he's one of the first ones. But
that were keepers, didn't we? We said that about Joe, haven't we? Like massively.
Natural, isn't it?
Oh, he's crazy.
Very athletic.
The plyometric boxes, he'd stack like double the amount on and jump onto them as if they were nothing. From a standing jump, he could jump over ice baths, if you like, at training. He used to get into an ice bath by jumping into it. So he'd standing jump.
Yeah.
Crouch down, jump over.
So an ice bath is like a wheelie bin.
Yeah, wheelie bin.
Like
that's exactly that. Yeah,
like a grasshopper.
He would stand and jump into the
unbelievable. Like a spring. And like he'd turn around and be like, "What?" As if it's like the most natural.
You're like, no, just about, you're trying to get one leg up.
I can't even reach the top.
End up going in head first, just be like, on the side, the bin falls over and everything.
I can't even get the top. I'm getting like a leg up off someone. So yeah, I mean, others. Matt Sadler again, he's just like Mr. Professional.
Yeah.
Every day, trained, drove other people forwards.
Boring then.
You know, he has a little bit of banter every now and again. Yeah, not too much, but a little bit. Abs a go-go, no matter how many nights out he had, no matter what time he got in the next morning, he would be flat out at training.
Oh, I hate those people. That's what he used to be like. It's so annoying, isn't it? I'm like, I've been out with him for 3 a.m. and he just went and won the running.
He's unbelievable.
But this is what I say, obviously a joke about Matt Sadler about saying he's boring, because it does come a little bit hand in hand, the professionally. You get sort of tagged with that boring. There's not many lads that have got both of those. They're the lads that are out of this world. But
no, exactly.
Like Sam says there, it's very rare that you get those lads who go on a night out and then they just tear the place apart.
Oh, crazy, yeah. So I guess they'd be the ones. I mean, you look at the ones who have all gone higher, so Ben Godfrey.
No coincidence.
No, exactly. Even like Ivan Toney, his attitude probably wasn't right, and he had a lot of bigger moves when he got to Shrewsbury. He was at Newcastle and won a lot of money. Yeah. but he was just such a talented guy and physically streets ahead.
Obviously, he must have flipped that attitude
Something's
a little
clicked.
bit. Something to get where he's got to now.
Something.
He had everything for number 9.
Everything
to play up front on your own. He could edit. He could run. He had a good touch.
Well, I remember talking to Sharpie, Ian Sharps, and was saying about like who's the best player you've played against, whatever. And he said when Tones was a kid at Northampton, it was Ivan Toney, and he's like he ran me ragged. So he was too strong for me. He was too quick for me. He was too good for me. And then he ironically come to Shrewsbury, and he just didn't quite get to it with off-field distractions, I guess.
It's funny, I look at lads now who've sort of gone up the ladder, and at the time, I'm surprised. I look at him, I go, flipping it, I'd never have seen it. How's he got there? But you know, it's the mentality, isn't it? Something clicks, something happens where they pull it all together. They've already got the talent, of course. Yeah. And something clicks and they pull it together, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is what sets you apart. Like, genetically, some people are a little bit better off, but it is mentality that pulls people through a lot of the time.
I think we've said before, the talent gets you in the room, doesn't it? And then it's the hard work, the attitude, everything else that comes with it to take you to the top. What's this about the fastest physio?
Oh, it's without question.
That's you.
100%. 100%.
It can't be a great lineup though, because it was physios. I mean, every physios I've ever worked with, I fancy my chances.
I'll tell you what, if anyone... Hold on a minute.
No, I didn't think you meant.
If anyone's seen
it's on YouTube, make your own mind up.
If anyone's seen the Southend physio, I've not got too much competition.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy, yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah. So it's one that, again, it's like own daft personal pride things, isn't it? But like when there's little head clashes and things like that, you
race on, yeah?
Oh, you think like, I am not getting beat.
So you race on.
Yeah, 100%.
Got the arm out and everything.
Why is the physio wearing the spikes?
It's one of them where like nothing ever gets mentioned about like racing and everything. Yeah. But 100%, if you're going on, you are racing. So I remember Rob Sharp, the crew physio at the time.
I know Sharp.
Great guy. Yeah, in the youth team, isn't he, or younger ages. So get on great with him. Lives in Shrewsbury. Lovely guy. Brilliant physio. Always chat along the sideline. Anyway, I think it was Adam Dugdale, if my name's ring a bell.
I know him,
So went down with a bit of a head injury, and one of our lads went down. He jumped out, and I thought, well, I know what he's doing here. I'm after him. So I'm like, literally stiff arm with me back, charging as quickly as I can. And in the end, I thought, I've got him here. So I just nipped across him, hadn't I? So I blocked him off, got there first, flying. And then I think it was after that, it's kind of like, I must have made a joke or something on Twitter and before I got like ousted. And made a joke and said like, fastest physio in the Football League and all that. Yeah. And like, bless the fans, Shrewsbury fans, it kind of stuck. And all of a sudden there was like graphics with these flames coming off me and everything.
So be honest, have you ever practiced running with a bag to make sure?
Listen, you definitely go up or down in my estimation.
All the lads have gone home.
Just going and doing a few box-to-boxes, lads.
Because it's a different technique, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you know what? It is completely different technique.
Just time me here.
That's what it is.
They're doing their 4-minute runs.
That's what it is. I'm going to keep on doing it until I get under 10 seconds. It's one of them.
So it would be tough to beat that, but what's the best banter in physio football you've had then?
You know what? It's more so people. So Dodsy, Louis Dodds and Joe Riley were just like the funniest people. And Joe was injured more often than not anyway, bless him. But like his impressions, he'd do Doigie in the gaffer and he'd have you in stitches. So gaffer would come in, he'd be like, all right, lads, you all right? And he'd walk out and then Joe would start. But then he'd like flip straight into Doigie. So he'd be like, the gaffer would come in, he'd be like, oh, all right, lads. And then Joe would go, standards to do with Doigie. And honestly, like, it's just non-stop. He'd always be up to something. He'd always be sort of trying to find the next joke for the lads. Yeah. And then Louis was just like so quick-witted. Anything that was going on, he'd sort of had something to say about it, be involved in it. So it's kind of just that feel around the room. And I kind of ran quite a tight ship physio room-wise. So would be quite strict of people hanging about, But people like Joe and Louis would just get a little bit longer, for a little bit of banter.
There's nothing better, is there, than having a physio who can have a bit of banter. Like, I love all that.
They have to.
Dave said it was a bit of like, I hope it wasn't. And you have to, because we spoke about it as well. Obviously, not just the rehab bit. It's like part of it's like a counsellor sometimes, aren't you?
I believe that it's 20% physical. It's getting into the lad's head, especially the long-term lads. It's understanding where they're at on that day, which can fluctuate massively day to day. And it's kind of pitching it at the right level. So a lot of sort of the textbook physios, if you like, that will come through and they have this like 6-week plan. It doesn't allow you for coming in and the lad just saying, you know what, I'm just having a shit day today.
Yeah. I had an argument with the wife last night.
That's it, yeah.
I feel a bit under the weather.
Knee feels like crap.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, the lads are playing tonight, and
that's
so I'm
it.
not with anything.
Yeah, I'm grumpy because I'm on my own.
Today,
So like Junior Brown was kind of the key one, and he, like, bless him, he's the most pleasurable ACL rehab I've ever had, because he's a lunatic and wanted to get back out as quickly as he could. The first day he got confirmed it was an ACL. He was he'd researched it. He's like, Ibrahimovic come back in 72 days. I'm going to beat him. And I'm like, let's just call your jets a little bit. Like 72 days is very quick. Let's just call your jets. But like being with him every day, and there'd be days where he'd be sort of really just not in the right headspace. I was like, oh, come on, we'll get on the bike. We'll go for a bike ride. We used to take him up round Hormond Hill, and like I'd pull up and treat him for a bacon sarnie and things like that. And it's just being able, I think the skill as a physio in football is being able just to know to do the right things at the right times.
A bit of emotional intelligence.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And like, there's been some tough times at Joe Riley and sort of lost his baby. And I was the first person that he told, and having to deal with that, as well as him being injured. And like, how do you deal with that? But yeah, banter-wise, like Joe was always in and around. And
I used to love that physio room. I worked with a guy called Paul Egan, and he used to love us going in there, because obviously, like you say, even though we were fit, we'd go in there, and he used to, like you say, you've always got to run a tight ship, but he would almost welcome us in, and we used to do this little thing where he would say I was Xabi Alonso's cousin, and he would say, oh yeah, like to the new lads, they'd go in and they'd be having medicals or whatever, and he'd be saying, yeah, we've got this lad, and he's Xabi Alonso's cousin, and he's like Spanish international, so when he comes in, just obviously be mindful of him. So I'd walk in and he'd always go, hola. So straight away I'd know, like, it was game on. Yeah. And I'd go, hola, ¿cómo estás? And he'd go, yeah, and we would have this conversation in Spanish, and the lads would, yeah, es cliente de Barcelona, and obviously talking absolute nonsense, and the lads would be like, nice to meet you. I'm James. Gracias, James. We'd be doing this, and he'd come in, and the lad, he'd be like, "Oh, I've just met the Spanish lad," and the lads would be like, "Who are you talking about, mate?" Like, he's like, I'd be like, "Hello, mate. How you doing? All right?" You're like all confused and that. But I used to love those physios that would instigate them little moments just to get, because you could tell the lads are a little bit down. They're on the benches, and you'd go in there and it'd instigate little moments just to get everyone upbeat.
That's
again.
what it is, yeah. And I think it's a massive part. So like, we used to have the urine testing kit. And it's got a bit of a sensor on the dial of it. So we'd get the young lads in, and we'd be like, and they're always fair game because they're a bit wet behind the ears. It's like, oh, it's new testing. It's check your eyesight, for like clarity of passing. All you got to do is like look into it. So like you'd be in the middle of the gym, all the lads are like nudging you, saying, go on, get them done. So like saying, yeah, just look into it, and it'll like measure your vision. So these lads are there like staring into it. It's not working. And it's just like those little moments.
Yeah, brilliant.
Like just picks the group up.
Yeah,
it's massive.
Going back to what you're saying about the counselling side of things, I think physios are in a real privileged position in terms of you will see players at their most vulnerable. Yeah. They'll open up to you more than anyone else, even more than their wives at home. You'll have an understanding of what their home environment's like. They'll talk about their family, their kids, their friends. Likewise, a physio them. I find that when I've had big injuries, I become real close to the physio.
Absolutely.
And since then, I still speak to them. They're part of my life. And you'll see players at their absolute highest, but then you'll see them at those moments which no one else sees, where they're vulnerable.
Yeah, I always call it the room of truth. Yeah. So like when you strip back one-on-one with a person, these things come out that they often don't even know they're saying, or don't sort of recognise that they're saying. And you've got, like, it's all well and good being a laughing and joking and being a bit of a clown in the right circumstance, but there's also those other times that people don't talk about where you're having to deal with really dark times with lads that people have got injured. They don't know whether they're going to get their next contract because of the injury. They don't know what their next step is. And it's kind of being able to be the class clown and be able to laugh and joke with the group and get the atmosphere up, but also having that human side to be able to strip everything back and say, even the times where sort of you kind of feel that there's something up with someone, just taking them to the side and saying, look, are you all right? Like, is everything okay? What's going on? Yeah. And there's been two or three cases where through me saying that to someone, they've turned around and said, actually, I'm really struggling. And at its worst, there was one individual player, obviously remain nameless, but had said to me that they were considering taking their life.
That's a lot to put on you.
Massive, huge, yeah, but that's what I trained for in some ways.
Position,
yeah, massively privileged. And
I absolutely think that they should do that, and obviously like it's important that people open up and talk about those things, but for you to take that on, that must be a lot for you to take on as well.
Yeah,
you've got your own life,
I think
I
think it's one of them where I think as a physio, you've got to be emotionally secure, if you like, and emotionally strong enough to be able to cope with that, or know your support networks of where you can go if you need to talk about things. But yeah, I guess being there for somebody who's in that position, like you said, Dave, it's a privileged position. And I kind of look at it as thinking that I'm honoured to be in that position, and that's why how I get away with it, how I deal with it, if you like, is my view is that I'm representing that person and I'm there for that person to support what could be going on, because it's one of those things where people think, well, he's a footballer, he's doing what he loves, he's on however much £1,000 a week, he can't be depressed.
We spoke about this a lot, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It makes no difference.
And
it doesn't.
I can picture myself now, or anyone in the treatment room, and you know what it's like in the morning. There's loads of lads in the night, and if you're there and you've got a bad knee or whatever, everyone comes over, how you doing? Yeah, sound, yeah, it's good, yeah, I'm sort of on track. Next one comes in, how are you? Yeah, everything's fine, yeah, it's all good. Then as they kind of dwindle out the room that's just left with you and the physio, then it takes the physio then to really try and dive beneath the layer and say, well, are you all right? You're telling everyone you're all right, but are you all right? And you're like, no.
It is, and all the best ones, I mean, Phil, I know you've worked with Phil loads, was the Wolves physio, went to LA Galaxy, insanely good physio, insanely good.
Phil Hayward, he's a great guy, but again, he's just personable.
And that's it,
that conversation.
And out of every good physio and all the knowledge that Phil's got, the biggest thing of all is that he's a human, and he'll care and genuinely want to make a difference for the person. He's not just like, you're a bloody player with a bad knee and we'll get you out as quickly as we can. He wants to go deeper into that therapy. It's therapy ultimately.
Exactly what it is, yeah.
And I've had physios in my young years, but they don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? At all. And I think it's becoming more prevalent now with everything that's going on in the world.
I hope so.
I think people recognise, don't they, that like you said, Skitty, that like your physio now has got to be emotionally secure. They've got to be emotionally aware of other people. Yeah, I think, like we say, I think it's becoming more and more prevalent now.
Brilliant. Skitty, that's amazing. Thank you so
much. Love it,
Skitty. No, thank you.
Do we need to ask him for it?
Yeah. Before we go, though, everybody's got to name their five-a-side team.
Big question. Some big decisions.
Just quickly, I don't mind where I play. I don't mind where I play.
So people you've worked with.
It's a good job you won't be playing, mate. Thank God you didn't play.
So Wits is at the back then.
Yeah, exactly. In big calves. To be fair, Wits, you could sneak in there.
What formation are you going?
So I'm going to go.
Gav play with no defenders.
No, I'm going to. He goes on about it. McAteer.
He's so angry there, isn't he?
Mate, McAteer.
I'm going to go fairly aggressive. So Dino in goal, I think it kind of picks itself, doesn't it? Then a late addition, actually, late thought was Connor Goldson. He's going to,
Rangers now, Connor.
That's it. Doing really well, and lovely guy. But yeah, so I'll stick him at the back on his own. Then I'm going to go Ben Godfrey, Tyler Roberts for a bit of flair.
Nice. Leeds now, Tyler Roberts. I played him when he was a young kid. He was sensational.
Unbelievable, electric, sprint speed, electric, but also ability as well. And then I'm going to stick Tones up front to hopefully see what he can do and get a few goals. Don't think there'll be many like Diags getting hit and five-a-side.
That's not a bad team.
Fairly strong. Better than Canvey Island.
Yeah. Mate, not one of them's better than Jeff Minton, I'll tell you that.
Brilliant, mate. Well, please follow us, give us some feedback. Gav, what are we on?
So we're at In The Stiffs on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Email us with some feedback at inthestiffs@gmail.com.
Thanks for coming on, Skitty. It's been such an insight.
Thank you.
Amazing, Skitty.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
In the Stiffs with Budging Motors. Budging Motors are on Stafford Park in Telford and Featherbed Lane in Shrewsbury. For all your car needs, contact Budging now.